finally we found some sunshine in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin for GRIDLIFE's Elkhart Classic. Welcome back to the National Park of Speed at Road America. My name is Kyle Heyer, joined by Abram Schmucker for the second day of action here on a beautiful Sunday morning from a 4-mile road course in northern Wisconsin. It has been a rough weekend so far with the rain and the mist and the gloomy skies, Abe, but finally we've got some sunshine beating down and a full day of racing action. Time Attack GRIDLIFE Touring Cup back and forth all afternoon.
Yeah, really exciting to finally see sunshine out on track and drivers going out to try and put down some fast laps.
We're looking forward to it. We got Time Attack A on track right now. They've just started their warm-up lap as we see the front straightaway here, 4,000 feet long from end to end. There is turn number 5, a great passing opportunity that we talked about yesterday. Then through 6, 7, and 8, the hurry-down section before you head over to the carousel. And once you get there, Abe, it's a fast, high-speed section with the kink, one of the scariest corners in all of North American motorsport. Then the run down to Canada Corner, a beautiful scenic drive at normal speed, but at high speed, though, it's a passing opportunity and a potential point for calamity, especially in GRIDLIFE Touring Cup.
Absolutely. So Time Attack drivers now out on track. We've got Steve Loudon's ZR1. I believe that's Tom O'Gorman driving, but he should be coming around here right quick. And
223, 138.
223 is what we see out of Tom, and 221, 634 by Ryan Matthews, which I believe is a new street modified record.
Well, we'll keep an eye on the records for you today to let you know how those are progressing. The racetrack is in pretty good condition, and it's not warm out necessarily. It's still a little bit cool, so the track is going to be pretty quick this morning as Jackie Dean goes a 221, 784. That's about a tenth and a half behind Ryan Matthews. Look at these beautiful drone shots. We've got specialty production guys doing a spectacular job as we climb up the hill here on the front straightaway. Some more Corvettes coming across the line. Charles Miller just comes on through. He'll run a 231, 768 in his street class Evo. Chris Bickford in the 335 will come across in Street GT 232 878. Vladimir Skirta's Street all-wheel drive car 231 007 for him. Alex Moss has gone through Street Mod 225 854. Kobe Shields Street GT 225 873. A lot of cars on track this morning, Abe. A lot more than we saw yesterday.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was talking with Alex Moss last night, and that car is running a factory S2000 transmission and differential for this event. So he is with about 500 wheel horsepower. He is gear limited to 150 miles an hour, which I think he hits by the time he gets start finish, and just has to feather the throttle the rest of the way. So it's going to be tough to him for him to take the top spot this weekend, but we'll see what happens.
So as we talked about the track conditions a little bit, for those that weren't here yesterday, we'll say a couple things about this racetrack that are sort of interesting. This is one of the narrowest road courses in the country. 32 feet wide is its narrowest point. You can see there it's barely 3 car widths wide. The reason for that is because when it was paved back in 1955, a standard road grader that where they kind of dig out the spot for the asphalt to go, 16 feet wide, 2 passes, said that was enough around 4 miles here, and it stayed that way ever since. So Road America is definitely an old-fashioned road course, and it retains its original configuration. It's one of the only, there's not a lot of racetracks in the world that retain its original configuration unchanged from when it was built. Road America is one of them, especially here in the U.S. Tracks like Watkins Glen, Road Atlanta, Sebring, and even Daytona's road course, they've all changed over time. This one has been exactly the same since 1955.
So you see Ryan Matthews now closing here on Tom O'Gorman, and that ZR1 with several hundred more horsepower than that C5 Corvette should stretch its legs on the straights, but Ryan is obviously making up time in those corners.
Yeah, and again, that ZR1 is basically, that car's insane. We talk about the Z06 C7 quite a bit because that when that car came out, that was impressive. 650 horsepower, 0 to 60 in something like 3 seconds. Crazy insane. This ZR1 is unbelievable. You see it kind of walking as he comes out of turn number 3 there and heads down the back straight. This car will be doing 160 plus easily by the end of the straightaways here.
Yep, and that car is basically a showroom stock ZR1. And I believe it's Pilot Supersport tire, but that could be wrong. But I think you can see the limitation of the car right now, where Tom is really just not able to extract any more out of the car through those corners because it has plenty of legs on those straights.
Yeah, absolutely. And we know Tom's an incredible race car driver. He's got experience in IMSA and World Challenge and those racing series. He was very successful. Won 2 championships in World Challenge, won 4 races in IMSA's Pilot Challenge. and now he's running a full-time GRIDLIFE Touring Cup effort, and he's got his first podium yesterday in his new S2000 with some VTEC adjustments, so glad to see him finally get on the podium. There is, I believe that's Jeremy Boysen's number 22 C8 Corvette. So talking about a C7ZR1 to a C8 Stingray, basically. I don't know what do they call it a Stingray anymore?
I think that's what it is.
I'm not privy to the new naming schemes for Corvettes with the C8, but that's a cool looking car as well. And there's the Ben Misha in the RX-7 and a GTR out there and a GT2 as well.
GT2 RS.
GT2 RS. Gotta have the RS.
Very, very awesome.
You were drooling over that car when it came by. It's a great looking race car.
Just a bit.
Yeah. So Ryan Matthews is currently at the top of the board right now with a 221.634. Jackie Ding about a tenth and a half back at 221.784. Jackie Ding just ran one lap and called it quits. That's sort of been their strategy, is just to run that fast lap, because the car is really designed to go for one, and going much past that, you're just getting things too hot and overheated, and it's not going to run any faster the second time out. So Jackie didn't have a lot of track time yesterday. I think he stayed out of the rain for the most part. There's a lot of risk versus reward at this track in the rain, and I think Jackie said, you know what, let's not tear anything up, let's just be safe about it and come back tomorrow. And I don't think you knew that the weather was going to be better today, so why run yesterday if you know you're just going to run better tomorrow?
Yeah, a lot of these drivers will say that if you go out and you put your best effort on that first lap, really, if you don't get it, there's really no point to try to go for number two without multiple laps of cool down, because it takes a lot to get the tires to cool back down. And you see Ryan Matthews here actually doing a couple of those fast laps in a row. But the difference between lap 1 and lap 2 was actually about 3 seconds. So Ryan definitely fast on his first lap, but slowing down for sure. So we'll see if what now comes lap number 4 can be as fast as lap number 1.
Coming up the hill is Alex Moss in his green S2000. This car was trading blows with Jackie Ding earlier this season at Autobahn Country Club. I think actually beat Jackie there as he comes across the line and will go to a 223.217, puts him 4th overall, but about a second and a half behind Jackie Ding. So maybe the longer straightaways here helping out Jackie's Supra.
Absolutely. That car is very, very quick, and he has just recently done a little bit more work with his engine and horsepower development partner, AMS. I think they're about at the limit of horsepower for the stock fuel system, so definitely pulling out of the stops here for Road America.
That is the carousel you're seeing in that shot, and the carousel is a really interesting corner. I got my first chance to drive this track in real life was yesterday. I was out there in Ben Harisco's number 2, his old GLTC car. It's a NA Miata. I didn't realize how long this corner is. It feels like it goes on forever. And so drivers really have to kind of, this is an interesting corner where it's very flat and very narrow, so there's a lot of different ways you can run it, but it never feels right. You get to the last half of it and you feel like you can apex it. The first half, it's sort of like, where do I go? What do I do? And that was the one corner I think I struggled with where to place the car. And I'm sure that for a lot of people that are new to this track, that's another learning point as well.
Yeah, and absolutely. The exit of the carousel certainly helps you set up for the kink as well. So you want to make sure you get it right, and because the kink is no joke.
And there is a kink underneath you right now, and there was a couple cars that found the end of the weekend in the kink. One of them, Ben Harisco's brand new E46 M3 build for GRIDLIFE Touring Cup, and thankfully he's okay. I talked to him yesterday in the paddock, and he was obviously disappointed, but wet weather, and he was on slicks. A couple cars were on slicks yesterday for GLTC Race 1, and Harisco's E46 is I don't think it's totaled, but I think he could rebuild it for racing purposes only. But just an unfortunate victim of the kink here at Road America. But glad he's okay, and I appreciate Ben again for allowing me to drive his Miata with no track experience before yesterday. So that was really cool of him.
So I'm double checking overall fastest times as well from the previous sessions, and it does look like Josh Halka yesterday was able to set a new street class record with a 229.451, so a substantial improvement over times last year. Definitely a fast setup this year, done a lot to that car, and both he and his dad kind of double drive it. Basically every session there's someone in the car ripping on it.
What was that time again? 229.4 something?
229.451.
And that was for Josh Halka. Okay.
Correct.
Just want to make sure that we can get the graphic updated. So that was was that street mod or street?
It was street class.
Street class. Just making sure that we get that There we go. They're already on top of it. Thanks, Morgan, behind the scenes for grabbing that for us. As we take a look there at turn 5 and up the hill towards 6. And 6 is another corner that's a little bit scary. You come up over underneath that Corvette bridge, and you're stomping on the brakes. You can't see the corner until you're there. You're coming up the hill, and the visibility is not great there. And all of a sudden, you're like, oh, I'm on top of the corner now. So that's another tricky place. There is turn 14 and the run up the hill, a 4,000-foot-long straightaway here at Road America. And it feels like it. I was in a car that maybe made 100 horsepower, maybe a little bit more than that. You're doing 110 by the end of the front straight, and that, let me tell you, it took a while to get there, but I had a lot of time to think about it.
Make a cup of tea and just take a bath.
I think I'd have time to write up a couple of job applications, and I was planning out my future. By the time I got there, I think I was 3 years older, but it was a lot of fun. It's a cool place because there's a lot of straight and it's very point and shoot. So it's not as technical as other tracks that we've seen. As we got the checkered for this session, Ryan Matthews at the top of the board, 2:21.067, and he actually improved on his 4th lap. So that was the purple one for him.
Wow. So Ryan Matthews has been running with us for the majority of the year and has always, just been chasing just a little off of the Street Mod podium leaders. And this could be the first event where everything comes together for him. So super exciting to see.
And Kobe Shield has also broken the Street GT record. A 2:25.853, I think, is the new record we've got for Street GT. So he will go quicker. And Kobe is a phenomenal driver. He's been breaking records all over the place in Street GT this year.
So if you look at the timestamps on the screen here, looking at track records, you see pretty nice spacing between the different classes. But the one that stands out at the moment is Street Mod needs to go a little bit faster, right? Because there's a sizable gap between Street Mod and Track Mod. And if I'm putting my money on people, I would expect Jackie Ding to improve by a few seconds at this event by the end of the day.
Yeah, and again, Jackie didn't get a lot of track time yesterday, so they're still sort of working up to the level that you want to be at. This is not a place where you can go 100% on your first lap out. You need to work up to it. It's very, very easy to do something wrong here and destroy your race car and end your day.
Well, the other thing we talked about, Jackie has done a lot of development work with his aero partners on making a high downforce Street Mod car. And the tricky thing about this track is that there really aren't that many places that you benefit from having that. And I would not be surprised if his overall top speed is lower than it could be if he started to remove wing and splitter angle out of the car to try and gain some of that top speed back.
So I think in a minute we'll take a look at our schedule for the day. We've got lots going on this afternoon. We've got a lot of GRIDLIFE Touring Cup today. We only had one race yesterday, and it was race 1 at 5:30 p.m., and it ended under caution, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But 9:40, so just about an hour from now, will be GLTC race number 2, then Time Attack at 10:30, then GLTC race number 3 at 11:30, then back to Time Attack, and we'll finish out the day with GRIDLIFE Touring Cup race number 4 before we head off to Midwest Festival in a couple weeks at Gingerman Raceway. So lots of back and forth today. But going back to GLTC Race 1, we started it in sort of wet conditions. Some drivers were on slicks, some on wets. We got to the kink, had a car have an accident down there, and the whole race ended up under caution. We ran about 12, 13 minutes under yellow, and that ended the race. And we set the grid for race 2 by lap time from race 1. So the race winner ended up being the one that will be on the pole. That will be Eric Cattell. He got his 13th win yesterday in the series. And Tom McGormy got his first podium at his S2000, so happy for him. But we didn't really get a chance to see who was going to be fast. We saw about 3/4 of a lap of racing in semi-wet conditions. So we still don't know what we're going to see at 9:40 today, so make sure you tune in for that.
Absolutely. And so we've got checker now on Time Attack Group A. We've got Group B here in grid. I would expect some of these drivers to pick up time and potentially make the jump into Group A.
And we want to thank our wonderful partners for coming on board for GRIDLIFE Live. And you see them across the screen now. Haltech is on board with us. So is Staybill, some new partners with us this time around at Road America. And again, they call this place the National Park of Speed, Abe. And we look around and you get into the infield. And it does feel like that. It has a park vibe. You go into the infield and it's just trees and campsites and fire pits, and it really has that amazing sensation of being in a place like Yellowstone or Yosemite. Maybe not quite as many volcanoes out here, but it still is a really cool place.
Yeah, it's a fun place to bring the family in. It's a fun place to be, and the leaves turning in the background's not too bad either.
And you see a quiet track here as we wait for Group B to pull out on course, and we'll get there's Josh Halka now rolling down the pit lane, and again he broke that street record in all-wheel drive yesterday.
And I would expect him to improve here a little bit. If he wasn't out in that Group A session, it was likely because last night he was trying to recover from a sheared ball joint on the car and was working pretty late. We rolled by his paddock, I think, at about 11:30, and he and his dad were still working on the car. So if things get sorted and dialed in, I would expect him to be fast here.
So you have to wonder, I mean, we always talk about how much goes into building time attack cars, right? You're spending hours and days and weeks preparing these cars for one lap. So when you break something, how does that affect your weekend? Because all of a sudden you're going from focusing on making the car as fast as possible to just getting it driving again. And hopefully you've got spare parts laying around, and if you don't, you got to go hunt them down from nearby cities and towns. So what's that like during a race weekend?
Well, I mean, I think the attitude is fix it and get back out on track, right? It's kind of a keep running at all costs mentality, because you're already here, and no one likes to pack up early and go home. And
right.
There are actually a few people in the paddock at any given GRIDLIFE weekend who have personal bets with each other, personal challenges to see who can help more people fix their cars and stop them from leaving early.
Yeah, there was definitely a lot of broken cars the other day, and it's, some of it was there was some contact involved for some of the drivers. There was some mechanical failure, some electronic things, especially with the rain. You get any sort of moisture in electrical systems, and that will wreak havoc on stuff, and that's hard to track down and fix too.
Yeah, absolutely. And so getting a little bit more specific, GLTC driver Andy Smedegard and time attack driver Ronnie Solomon, Ronnie's not here this weekend, they have an internal competition to see who can help more people fix cars in any given weekend, because they just really just like helping people, and they like getting people back out on track.
I wonder,
because if you're not that mechanically inclined, these weekends can be challenging if you're competing at this level.
I wonder how many cars in the GLTC field are either prepared by winning Formula or Andy Smedegard.
It's a lot.
It's got to be a lot. It's got to be like a third of the field.
Yeah,
at that point.
They both those shops really take the time to put together cars that make sense and are thoughtful and are dialed. And I don't think you can say that about everybody.
Right. There's turn number 5. We talked about that earlier in this in the broadcast. That's great passing opportunity. Then to turn 6, very slow left-hand corner, big curb on the inside. That bare concrete patch there that you see, those curbs are about 5 inches deep, and they will destroy your car if you drive on them. So stay well away from those. And there's not really a lot to gain, I think, if you cut that corner too much either.
Well, and especially on cars that have, for example, K-swaps and large oil pans, you may not have a ton of ground clearance with that swap. And so if you dare run out on those curbs, it could be a bad day for you.
Yeah, and even this turn 7 one, this one looks unassuming from ground level, but you get on it with your car. I nipped it yesterday, and it rattled the cage in the car just a little bit. And I saw cars in World Challenge a couple weeks ago go into limp mode when they went over that curb specifically. So there's a lot to and we were talking yesterday about airbags in street cars that still have the airbag systems in them. You drive over the curbs too hard here, you will set your airbags off. So stay off of them if you can as we head up the hill to start Group B here in Time Attack for GRIDLIFE Elkhart Classic at Road America. Up the hill and across the line, green flag flying for Group B.
So here we see cars start rolling past. Huge variety of cars, Evos, Civics, more Evos.
Lots of Evos. Popular car choice. But Nick Kors is in that number 79. That's that 8th gen Civic that's out front. And there is Ben Thorne in the number 66. That is the Gears and Gasoline prepared EK Civic. And we were talking about this a little bit yesterday. They've got a YouTube channel where they've sort of covered this build and the competitions here at GRIDLIFE. Super interesting guy, super interesting YouTube channel, super interesting car.
And that car prepared and built by Andy Smedegard as well.
Well, there's another one for him. And that car is also a rocket ship in a straight line. And we got someone watching from Buffalo, New York. I'm from Rochester, so that's not too far away. Pretty cool. But we'll check in on chat today. If you're watching on YouTube, I'm monitoring YouTube chat. So if you have got any questions for us, let us know as we continue to watch Group B here. Green flag still flying. This is a big group of cars today. Got 18, make that 19. Drew Cleaver's out there with his Model 3 Tesla, which we talked about yesterday.
And I just received a text message from him before he went out to say that he was intending to run in the track modified group. but wasn't able to get all the components to show up here at the track, and so he'll be running the rest of this weekend in Street GT. So he had really favorable conditions in at Pikes Peak. And here, I think things are just a little bit different. So I'm curious to see how far removed he is from the front of the pack in a car that has so much weight to lug around.
Yeah, and it's also, again, this racetrack is a lot about top-end speed, and that car has a lot of torque, but I'm not sure it has the top end that some of these other cars do. So he might be losing out. By the time you get halfway down the straightaway, it's kind of running out of breath a little bit.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see that. So first session here for him this morning. And I am very curious to see how close he'll be to Street GT overall record of 225.
And we'll see if he can get there. We've got people watching from Malaysia. That's cool. So really, a truly global audience here today. Next Grid Life event is going to be off in at Gingerman Raceway in South Haven, Michigan. That'll be in October, so keep your eye out for that. That'll be the replacement of our, well, it is the Midwest Festival, just sort of shifted from June so that we could kind of work a little bit better with the whole pandemic situation. But I think so far I'm surprised and pleasantly surprised that we've been able to have our season with adjustments for social distancing and all that, all that jazz. We've really had a somewhat normal feeling season other than that.
Yeah, absolutely. And the Midwest Festival is a really exciting event in that it truly is a national big stage competition for Time Attack, and we get competitors from all over the place that maybe only come out to run just this event. And I know a lot of people have taken pause at some of our more conventional track battle events just to get ready for the Midwest Festival event. I know some people want that Gingerman record more than anything else.
Yeah, that's sort of Grid Life's playground as well. So looking forward to going back there in a little bit. Nick Kors across the line in Street Mod front wheel drive, 234.714 for him. Mark Brylo second, 237.544. Peter Granberg in the 511 car third, the 237.916. David McAllister, Dewey DeWitt out there in his BRZ, the 777. We're running 244.029 in street. Ben Thorne, 243.309. Is that how fast did Ben go yesterday? Is he going quicker already?
I think that's pretty consistent with how fast he had run. Excuse me, yesterday.
And someone was asking about COTA for next year. I don't know if we know yet about COTA for next year. We had Grid Life Touring Cup there back in February. That was a blast to watch. Not sure. I don't have any news on that yet. I'm sure you'll know when we know. As of we've got NOLA on the schedule. If you're down in the southeast, kind of near New Orleans, we're heading to NOLA on November 7th and 8th for Grid Life Track Battle Bayou Bash. So looking forward to that. That'll be a fun one. That's the first time we've ever gone there. It'll be the first time I've ever been to Louisiana. So that'll be a good time.
So double checking your question from just a second ago, Ben Thorne was running 2:42.8 best time from yesterday. So just a little bit off pace, but probably still some time to improve.
I'll bet you when he comes around again, he'll probably go quicker than that if he runs more than one consecutive lap. Nice looking BMW out there.
That is previous Subaru driver Alex Arteat, who is now running in Street GT. He ran with us for the first time last year and was really fast in an STI, but kind of changed his strategy and came to Street GT.
His last lap at 246.781. And this is my favorite section of racetrack in all of North America. Look at how beautiful this is. You come down in the kink, and for a race car driver, you're not going to notice this, but from the sky, you really get to appreciate how awesome this back side of the track is. This whole section through what I would call the Kettle Bottoms section down to Canada Corner. It's narrow, it's fast, and it's absolutely gorgeous, especially when you see the trees starting to tint a little bit orange and red here.
So from those angles, you can also see just a little bit of moisture in certain areas of the track, which may be slowing drivers down just a bit.
Yeah, it is going to be not the fastest the track is capable of going. I think I'm not expecting rain today, but we had a lot of rain yesterday, so the track was still wet this morning. It's not hot out, so it didn't really bake the track and clear it of all the moisture. There still is a little bit around, so we're seeing sometimes might not be as quick as possible, but they're still going to be a lot quicker than they were yesterday, I think. And a question about why Adam Jabay wasn't racing. Adam Jabay is a very busy guy.
He is extremely busy.
And when he gets a chance to race, is awesome, but it doesn't happen a lot.
Yeah, running an event here at a pro track like Road America just brings a lot of like responsibility. And
Yep.
Adam, especially in a giant facility like that, the production just takes time and it takes effort. And running cars from A to B can be tricky. And so he was using this event to just focus on the highest caliber production that we can do.
And so far, so good. It's been a great weekend so far. Having a look at turn 6 again, up the hill towards 7. And there's Drew Cleaver coming back around, and his first lap was a 3:15.078, and we'll see what he can do on his second lap. I think he was given a point by at the start of that lap, so we'll see if he improves this time by in that Model 3. And I've been so excited. I wouldn't consider myself a Tesla fanboy, but I really do like these cars. They've made electric cars exciting to me, and I think that they got such a big head start on other manufacturers as he jumps to a 2:37.912. That's a pretty good time.
It's not slow.
It's not slow. But Tesla got a jump on making electric cars. They're going to be the Toyota of the future, I feel. They're going to be ubiquitous and be everywhere.
Yeah, absolutely. But in terms of performance cars, I think the Model 3 is really kind of an entry-level electric car with some performance attributes. I'm eager to see someone with some of the more sports car focus, like Porsche Taycans and things like that, to see just how fast electric cars can go in this type of competitive environment.
Absolutely, and again, you mentioned a 2:37 around here is not a slow time, especially in a car that really lacks a lot of top end, and it's not necessarily a race car either. It's mostly a street car still.
Yeah, very much. And I had a chance to sit in the car just a little bit at Pikes Peak International, where Drew kind of walked me through the different performance modes of the car and what kind of feedback he's getting from the computer systems and things. It's a really cool setup. And if you come to tracks like this that have RV power available, or even a Tesla supercharger, it could be a fun car to run in an event like this.
Absolutely. And across the line comes the 511 of Peter Granberg. He will not improve this time. Adam Wood will in street, a 2:37.473 for him. That puts him a couple tenths of a second ahead of Drew Cleaver. David McAllister's number 151 track mod car, 2:34.897. That is an improvement this lap by. There's a look down at Canada Corner. How about that for sightseeing here?
So I think you see this kind of snaking road to the side of the track. I believe that's the footpath that you can kind of walk or take your golf cart and go see different areas of the track. Almost everything here is walkable either inside or outside the circuit.
And we did just see, yeah, your eyes weren't lying to you. There are stock cars out on track, and they're so cool. These cars got a little bit of action yesterday, but I feel like in the drier conditions, these cars will be a lot of fun, and I don't think they're going to be slow either. As they come across the line, thundering through, and that's just Jess Moding in the 502. Super Unlimited, a 2:33.668, and Ben Orick in the 501, a 2:34.473. So they're not going slow either. Keep in mind that NASCAR stock cars like the Xfinity Series cars are only going 10 to 15 seconds faster, and those are not that. They're a couple steps below that. So they're hauling right now.
Well, and I also imagine you can't buy a NASCAR Xfinity car for $12,000.
No, you can't.
So both of those drivers had highly modified Corvettes before they bought these stock cars, and they kind of gave up on that and decided that this was cheaper and more fun.
Dude, I would give anything to get behind the wheel of one of those cars. I mean, I grew up as a NASCAR fan. I think a lot of us did, because it's one of the more accessible motorsports to watch on TV. And it wasn't the ovals that always caught my attention. It was running on the road courses, because they're running 4-speed gearboxes. They're all manual transmission. You're heel-toe downshifting. Now they just kind of slam them into gear and it's fine. But they're really manual analog cars.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're spectacular to watch, and they sound amazing. They're big tire, rear-wheel drive, super fun.
Well, I know, and it kind of sounds outrageous when you talk about it, but like think about what you might be interested in if you don't have a car already and you're interested in going out on track. It kind of sounds outrageous to be like, well, I'm just going to buy an old NASCAR. Well, as it turns out, that's actually pretty cost effective. So
yeah, I mean, you can get rolling chassis for not that much money. And I think there's like racing junk. You can find them all over the place.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I mean, they're a dime a dozen, because they go through so many of them in NASCAR. They just throw them off to the side as you know. And I've seen people track, cup cars that have been. And actually, I think GM, well, at least Chevrolet, actually has a track variant of their Cup Series Chevy SS. You can go to Chevy and buy, or I think it's Hendrick Motorsports specifically, you can buy a cup car that has like a sequential transmission and is geared for track use. I don't think they're inexpensive by any stretch, but you could do that if you want, and you got the coins to do it.
Maybe just a little bit out of my price range. I'm more of a a free 99 kind of guy.
yeah, get a $500 Miata and put a loud exhaust on it, make you feel like you're going fast.
That's right.
Sometimes it's all about feeling fast and not being fast. I felt fast in Ben's Miata the other day. I wasn't going more than 110 miles an hour, but hey, that made a lot of noise.
You know what? You're going faster than someone that's not here.
Yes,
so.
That is true. All right, going back up. Hey, Jess Moding in one of those stock cars just went quick as a 229.631 in Super Unlimited. Nick Kors now second overall, 230.282. So one of those stock cars, fastest car on track right now, 52 car. That, I believe, is Nick Gardner in track mod. He's coming up the hill now to turn 14.
So for anyone wondering why those NASCARs are in Super Unlimited and what that means, Super Unlimited is really a catch-all for anything that doesn't fit within the conventional rule set. One of the requirements to run in our time attack rules is that cars must be production-based. So they have to have a DOT VIN. It doesn't have to be in the United States necessarily, but it has to have a VIN. And, NASCARs don't. So he's running in Super Unlimited, and he's just out here having a good time.
Yeah, stock cars are hand-built. They're welded together in race shops all across the country, mostly in North Carolina where they're originally built. Jess Moding, though, will take, I guess you could call it a victory, in Group B here for Time Attack. At the top of the board, 229.631. Nick Kors, Ben Orick, Nick Gardner, Alex Arteat, Orange Crush Racing, Mark Brylow, Peter Granberg, David McAllister, and Sam Messelvik in 10th. And Drew Cleaver, 12th overall, track mod all-wheel drive, 237.141 will be the fastest he goes. And all the way down towards the bottom of the order. I think Savannah Little is out there running an HPD in her GLTC car, maybe?
Or she could be. Else? I'm not sure.
That's the 512. I don't know what her number is in GLTC, but I wonder. Maybe I can have a look here. Is her? No, she runs a 194 car in GLTC. So
I think she has a Skyline. Like an R32, maybe?
Well, I'll tell you what. She's this is only her second GRIDLIFE Touring Cup event. She ran at Colorado a few weeks ago, and she was super impressive. She has a Spec MX-5 Challenge car that's not really prepped to the GLTC rules all the way, so it's sort of underpowered. And she did a great job at Colorado. She ran way better than I thought that car was going to run. And so far this weekend, she was starting towards the rear, but I cannot wait to see her take the track here in a little bit.
She runs a really strong program. She's got great social media, and she's a fast driver, and she travels everywhere to race almost every weekend. So I believe she lives in Texas, but she's doing events in Colorado, here up in Wisconsin. A big supporter of GRIDLIFE, and we're happy to have her here.
Well, that's a lot of driving to get up here. It was a 12-hour drive for me. I can't imagine from Texas. It's got to be a long way. And we're missing one of our other GLTC drivers. That would be Sally Mcnulty. She lives in Arizona, and that's a little bit too far of a haul this time around.
Sometimes it is.
Yeah, but waiting for Group C now to get on track, just waiting for the track to clear. That's the other thing about Road America is it takes a while to get off track here. It's 4 miles around. There's 2 escape places around this
right
track.
After turn 5, and then depending on where you see the checker, you would alternatively just pit in at the standard pit in.
Right, so there's a couple different places to escape, but it still takes a couple minutes to get cars off track. We'll have Group C coming up here again. We've got GRIDLIFE Touring Cup race number 2 for the weekend at 9:40. So that's about 40 minutes from now, and we'll have that coming up not too long. And then it's Time Attack again at 10:30. You better hope you don't break anything or run into anything in race 2 or 3, because you only have about an hour and a half, 2 hours of downtime before you get rolling again.
Absolutely. Really no time, almost no time to make those repairs on failures and things. If you have an incident on track or you break components, you got to be quick.
Yeah, it certainly have to be quick. We talked about repairing time attack cars. You got chances to get those. You got sessions that don't. It doesn't really matter if you make 1 session or you make 5 sessions as long as you run your fast lap. And GLTC talked about points for the weekend and for the season. If you miss a race, it's a huge deal.
Absolutely.
So the clouds have come over. I don't think we're expecting rain today. Let me just check on the forecast here for Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin. But I don't think I think today was supposed to be precipitation free, and it will be. It's just going to be maybe a little bit cloudy this afternoon.
Yep, so not seeing a whole lot of temperature in the track, which may limit drivers just a little bit, getting those tires up and getting a really good contact with the racing surface. But still very fast overall, and I'm sure we'll have exciting racing in GLTC.
Absolutely. So while we wait for this third group, got yellow flags displayed from the start stand, so warm-up laps beginning now for this group. And I see a C5 pulling on track, and that doesn't happen to be the same car. It is not.
That's Ron Mullet.
That is Ron Mullet. It reminded me a lot of the car that we saw in GLTC at
Is this
Colorado.
the chat?
Is this the chat? I don't know. Is it? I'm watching the chat, and it's sort of an inside joke that a lot of people won't understand. But if you watch GridLife iRacers on the GridLife YouTube channel, then you could be in tune with the inside jokes that we've got about that. So, well, cars rolling now, and a bunch of FRSs and BRZs in this group. I see at least 3, I think. Well, maybe 4.
Got a Civic Si hatch there. You don't see a ton of those taking the track.
No.
I think those are about 160 horsepower. It was kind of the probably the least loved Civic Si for a while. But
you'd be mistaken for calling that a fit from a distance, just because it has the same sort of form factor.
That's true.
And you'd be like, oh, that's a weird one, you know. but it's a Civic Si hatch. So rolling on the track now, there's I believe that's just a Focus ST. Those are cool little cars too.
Absolutely. And, we did a Slip Angle podcast last night with Scott Giles where we actually talked about builds that you might do if you wanted to be a front runner in GLTC. And one of Giles's harebrained ideas was we maybe should look at Fiesta STs as a viable option because you can that turbo car, you can get enough power out of it. They are inexpensive to buy, and if you can keep them reliable mechanically, you might have a fast setup.
Yeah, and, it's interesting. I'm trying to think of another car that we would see like that. We don't really see a hatch that is that sort of form factor. I don't think we have anything like that in GLTC just yet. So it would certainly be a new thing to try.
Absolutely, and I think one of the characteristics of cars that are attractive for GLTC is something that might be just inexpensive to buy to start. So there's really 2 paths that you could take. Giles first thought that the easy button might just be buying a TCA prepped Civic from Honda Performance Development. But if you are interested in building cars and the kind of the process of building a race car, there are a bunch of really cool options that might be an inexpensive starting point.
Yeah, and I think we've seen that a lot with, you look at a Fiesta ST, or I think the other choice that we're starting to see more of, I think, is the FRS platform, the BRZ. We've got 2 of them in the category, and 2 very different approaches to the same car. We've got one where with the Myriad Motorsports crew, where Justin Kelly has put an S2000 power plant in that car, and he's found some success with it. The other train of thought is to leave the stock FA20 in there and throw bolt-ons at it and coil packs at it and hope it stays reliable, and that's what Pervez Randelia has done, and he's done amazingly well with it. He was top 5 yesterday, and he's finished top 5 before, and he runs really well. He's a great driver, and that car is not as inexpensive as a Fiesta, but it is certainly in the same sort of price range, especially if you buy it used. They're not that expensive, and they're not super fast, but if you do the right things to them, you can certainly make them into a good race car.
So we see question here regarding K-swap fits. I still think K-swap fits are amazing. We don't have a ton of them running in GLTC other than Claptrap, which is Tom O'Gorman's old car, now owned by Hard Times Racing, which Hard Times is, I think this is their first year really kind of running that car consistently. So I would expect there is time to be had just as Charlie and crew gets more wheel-to-wheel experience and kind of gets comfortable in the driver's seat for this kind of racing.
Absolutely. Group C now rolling here at Road America. Green flag from the starter stand indicates you are good to go. Ron Mullet crosses line, so does David Ottebree. He had an off yesterday in turn 14, and I never got a chance to talk to him and find out if it was a mechanical thing or if it was just slipping off a very slippery, wet turn 14, but he's back out on track. No issues today. There's some good point buys going on as we've got, I think it's Andrew Sonneville in the, no, that's not, I'm looking for front-wheel drive. Don't know who's in the Focus. Do you know who's in the Focus?
I don't.
We'll find out when they come back around. Some new, it's always good to see new faces because I don't remember seeing that car around. So I think it's probably going to be someone that has either run here last year or hasn't run recently. So it's always good to see new people come to the GridLife platform as we head up into turn number 6 now. for Time Attack Group C.
Big thanks to our drone pilots. They
Such great views here. Look at the trees. They're starting to turn. It's so pretty out.
I love this place.
I wanted to live here. I want to live at the track. They have little, right on the front straightaway here, they have little cabins that you can, like, rent, I think. I'm not sure. They're probably not inexpensive, but they're little cabins that you can rent right next to the front straightaway. I just want to live in that. Can I just, like, set up in there?
I think you should just live here.
I think I should. I'll do something. I'll
mow the lawn or something.
Mow the lawn. Yeah, I'll wipe down the racetrack with a broom every morning if I have to. I'll do that. I'll work something out. And there is turn 8, 9, and 10. 9 and 10 being the carousel, 8 being the left-hander you see in the middle of your screen. That's another pretty gnarly corner. Very similar to turn 5 in a lot of ways.
Well, and it's really interesting going into 8. You can't really see it from the drone shot, but it is downhill. And so you see cars kind of, really booming toward turn 8 and having to hit the brakes pretty hard. And you've got the terrain of the track working against you there in the brake zone.
Yeah, and there's a lot of downhill braking zones at this track, and the whole track feels downhill with the exception of turn 6 and coming out of turn 14. And those are all straightaways. So it seems like every time you're in a braking zone, you're either flat or going downhill. So you're kind of fighting against all that weight transferring to the front of the car, and I'm surprised. I'd be interested to talk to the drivers that are in those stock cars if wheel hop is an issue. You see a lot of times in stock cars where they'll try to crank as much rear brake as possible so that they can get as much peak braking force. But in a stock car, you have this thing called wheel hop where the rear tires will actually start to bounce like basketballs in the rear. And to adjust that, the only way you can avoid that is by putting more front brake in it. When you do that, you extend your braking distance. So there's definitely a lot of adjustments you can make with brake bias in those cars to avoid that situation. But downhill corners like turn 1 Watkins Glen or turn 5 at Road America, they will definitely trigger wheel hop situations.
So, looks like drivers making their way into Canada corner. Is that right?
Yes. The northernmost section of the course, and again, you're just under a tunnel of trees down there, and there's not a lot of daylight down there. Right? It's dark even during the day with how much tree coverage there is. So let's update you on some timing and scoring situations. Electron Sport, the 115 car in street mod rear-wheel drive, a 2:34.0 is the fastest time we've seen. Dussex in second in the 3:03. That's a 2:43.081. Grant Mullet, 2:43.270 in his number 64. Alex Westergaard, street mod car, 2:43.305. Ron Mullet, fifth right now overall, 32. 2:45.543 for Mullet.
So we've got a little bit of let's call it an anomaly, I guess. It looks like Electron Sport really took to the track here in Group C, and with a kind of a banger lap time, will easily jump into Group B with that much of a time improvement at 2:34.
That's 9 seconds faster than the next fastest car. So that'll do it. That'll put you up. That'll get you to the group forward.
Sometimes all you need is dry track.
Yes. And you can also see one of the things that we should talk about here, Abe, is the pavement changes around here. A lot of the corners have fresher pavement than the straightaways do, and some corners, like the carousel, have a distinct line up the middle where they have one half of the racetrack one color and the other half of the racetrack another color. You can see right here in turn 14. You're coming off this very bumpy older pavement onto a very smooth section of new pavement, and that adjustment, especially in the wet, is a big grip differential, and you have to be conscious of that when you turn in. In the dry, it's not as big of a deal, but the track definitely smooths out in turn 14 versus coming up the hill through 12 and 13.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure as a driver, as you work your way through there, you've got to be aware of the surface that's around you to know where the grip is.
For sure. So Electron Sport, fastest car right now at a 2:34.033. And I did see Ben Oryx's number 501 Super Unlimited stock car roll past the timing loop, but I think he was on pit lane. I don't think he's going back out. But if he does, I am excited to hear that car again. It's a cool sounding car. David Otterbury never made it back around to run a time, as Ryan Dussex goes quicker, 2:35.454. That is an improvement, and that's also a very fast time. He just improved within a second and a half of the Electron Sport car.
Yep, and looks like that car is running unlimited all-wheel drive, so an interesting setup on that car. It looks like a Subaru Bug-Eye WRX.
Looks like it. Electron Sport quicker, 2:30.398. Wow, that's fast.
Yeah, moving along there.
Yes, you're cooking. And there's the carousel. And what's interesting is the reason why it feels so long, I thought it was a 180-degree corner. It's more than that. You can see from that that angle there. It curves around more than 180 degrees, so it's actually tighter than you think. And there's a curb on the left-hand side of your screen. There's a rumble strip there, and that's a great sighting point to kind of straighten out the end of the corner, which I'm a fan of this. And again, we mentioned how it's an old-school style circuit. If you built this track in 2020, there'd be a rumble strip all the way around from corner entry all the way to the exit. I wouldn't like that because it doesn't give me the sighting point that I need.
Absolutely.
So the rumble strip that's there tells me where I need to start straightening the car out. If it ran around the whole corner, which is FIA spec, then you would never know where the apex is. You'd have to just figure it out.
Yeah, right. And so I'll be the first to admit that I've never taken laps here at speed. I'm going to see what the racing schedule looks like this afternoon after the track goes cold for competitive racing to see if I can find my way into something by the end of the day.
Yeah, you really should. I mean, I definitely jumped in head first into a situation that was probably a little bit much in the wet in a car I don't own at Road America. That was a lot to do my first track experience ever. I mentioned yesterday, if you're at home and you're near a GRIDLIFE event, whether somewhere in the Midwest or even up here in Wisconsin, if you see this event and you want to do this next year, do it. Go to beginner HPDE and run the program. And do it with the incredible instructors we have, because I did that yesterday, and it's unbelievable. The experience that you get in a day, just from walking in there anxious, and you're like, oh, I don't want to crash, I don't want to do anything silly. By the end of the day, I go, that was fun, I want to do that again. And it's not that difficult. You just have to be conscious of where you're going, and what you're doing, and it's totally fine and cool.
Yep, and one thing I'll say, and Adam and I have talked about this on the show, and even actually the Gears and Gasoline videos have talked about getting on track before. Quite honestly, the best time to get on track is right now.
Yeah.
I think drivers of street cars kind of get into this mindset that the car's never ready, right? I have to do this, or I have to spend the money on that. And quite literally, the only things that you would really like to have are, good brake fluid, some good brake pads, and tires that will hold up. They don't have to be the fastest and stickiest tires, but you don't want tires that, you drive to the event on highway tires and then come out here and destroy them and expect to drive home.
Right.
So, if you just have tires that are good summer tires, you can come out and run events, and depending on the car, they're going to last you, and you're going to go out and just learn the craft of driving on a racetrack and have a good time.
It's just an unbelievable experience. I don't think there's I thought when I did this for the first time that I was going to be overwhelmed and have tunnel vision and not be able to focus on where the corner workers are.
You didn't have tunnel vision on your way to Canada Corner? Because it's kind of a tunnel.
Well, you're by default you have tunnel vision down there. But you know what I got? I got up there and I felt so like I've done it before. I felt, and we talked about this yesterday, I've done iRacing a bunch. It's not the same, but if you have done iRacing at Road America and you treat it like a simulator and practice on that, you will come here and you'll feel like you've been here before. And to the point where you feel very comfortable out on track. And I felt that way yesterday. It was very cool. Electron Sport has run quicker, 2:29.195 for the Electron Sport car. Still the fastest in this session. Ryan Dusick second in Unlimited, 2:33.736. Then Grant Mullet, 64 car. Street GT leading this session in that category, 2:38.716. Alex Westergaard Street Mod rear-wheel drive car, 2:39.623. And checking down the order, Ben Orick, he did run a time, 3:06.757 in that Super Unlimited stock car.
So probably still trying to, shake down different things, because I think he was running in the 2:30s in the last session.
Yeah, maybe they're kind of working on something, tweaking or having a look at maybe something that's not going right with the car. But those stock cars aren't pretty simple. I mean, they're carbureted. They're old school. So if you go out there and break something, it's probably pretty easy to fix, I'd imagine, if you're a mechanical guy.
So seeing cars come right around turn 14 here. Running a little bit near the end of the session. We're at about 13 minutes in now. So drivers, kind of their last effort to put a fast lap in before this session is over.
All right, so the last attempts here. No checkered yet. We're still good for at least another lap for these drivers. And again, we have GRIDLIFE Touring Cup coming up in just under a half an hour. It'll be at 9:40 a.m. That's Central Time. So make sure that if you're on the East Coast, you're budgeting for 10:40 to watch GLTC Race number 2. And we'll go over the starting lineup and everything at that time. And we'll walk you through what GRIDLIFE Touring Cup is. And let's do that now, actually. It's a good time to do it, I think, and talk about what makes GRIDLIFE Touring Cup GRIDLIFE Touring Cup. So GLTC, it's basically designed to promote close racing between cars of all shapes and sizes using the simple things that make cars fast. That would just be power, weight, and tire size, and tire compound, basically. They have the rule set is basically a time attack style rule set. The rule book is like 4 pages. There's not a lot.
Keep it simple.
They keep it simple, and with power, weight, and tire, you can pretty much make any car run the same speed as any other car. So the goal here is 12.5 pounds per horsepower. Make your car that with a roll cage and the right safety features. And if you add aero to your car, that's fine. There's a weight modifier to adjust for that. But you can run an M3, a minivan, a Miata, a Corvette, an S2000, a Civic. You can run anything you want in this series. Granted that you follow the rule book and get yourself within the scope of the rules. It is a phenomenal series that is still relatively new, about 1.5 years old now, and it's probably, for me, I watch a lot of racing, the most entertaining racing series that there is.
And I'm thinking about our rule set for 2021, and I'm going to have to talk to the rest of our rules team to figure out if we need to give some horsepower bonus to any minivan competing in GLTC.
I want
Quite
that
honestly,
so
because
bad.
I just want to see more of them.
Yeah, I mean, so the HMA Racing guys out of Alabama, they brought a 2018 Honda Odyssey to Road Atlanta last year. And it was competitive. It didn't win anything, but it ran like 18th out of like 37 or 38 drivers.
Well, and when you think about a conventional minivan, the only performance disadvantage to it really is how heavy it is, right? So when you pull out all the like people mover stuff, things start to lighten up a little bit. But the power plants in modern minivans are stout, right? Like 280 horsepower at the crank, which is a lot for GLTC. So if you start removing weight, you've got a car with, kind of limited mechanical preparation that could be fast.
Yeah, and I think I just watching pictures back and watching the video back, and on the pace lap, you see all these little tiny Miatas and their RX-8s doing they're weaving, they warm up their tires, and you see this just chungus of a car come out of turn 7, and you go, I want to see that thing run again. And unfortunately, they can't be with us. The pandemic sort of complicating things for HMA Racing, but hopefully they'll be back. They were at COTA this year too, and that car, not only was it the best on the power, it was also one of the best cars on the brakes, which I thought was insane.
That's pretty close to all you need to do to have a race car.
It just needs to turn now. The other thing is watching the onboard video of watching Carl Hurdle drive that car. He's like driving a bus. He like sits on top of it. It's so cool. It's so cool. All right. So in a minute here, we've got checkered out for Time Attack Group C. And we'll run through our partners here in just a moment. Then we'll probably take a short break before we get into GLTC race number 2 for the weekend. Oh, it is a much better day today, Abe, though. The weather is so much better than it was, and I just needed it. It just was such a gloomy, dreary day, and I'm just so glad to see at least blue sky somewhere. There's a little bit out there.
Yeah, it's still kind of clearing up just a little bit. Get a little sunshine on this track, and things will go fast.
And thanks to again for our partners, Falcon Tires, the RT660 tire, peak performance inspired by enthusiasts. FCP Euro, if we wouldn't put it on our cars, we won't sell it to you. And by Haltech, unlock the power. And by Staybill, feel the difference. And by ST Suspension. And GridLife Live is also sponsored by Mike's Harder. Dude, that's sweet. And thanks again to our wonderful partners for sponsoring GridLife Live and bringing you this amazing coverage from the sky, from the ground. Next up will be GLTC race number 2. And we'll see you again at 9:40. And I think we're going to take a very short break. We'll be back in a few.
The Falcon Azenis RT660 is the enthusiast choice for ultra-high performance. The 660 provides maximum traction both on and off the track. Your competitive edge has arrived with the Falcon Azenis RT660.
nest in trees or caves. Some species roost alone, while others form colonies, up to 1 million individuals.
Dude, that's sweet. Dude, that's sweet. Dude, that's sweet.
It's gonna be a long winter. Stable Fuel Stabilizer is specifically formulated to make sure your engines will be ready when it's finally over. Ready, willing, stable.
I'm Matt Williams. I drive a 2007 Honda Fit with GRIDLIFE, specifically in the Sunday Cup class. Spec-wise, the rules are pretty much contained to like intake, exhaust, suspension. And when you only have 3 things to work on, it's actually pretty fun to get carried away on those 3 things. We're all on 200 treadwear tires. The suspension is open. Most of us are running some variant of BCs, whether they've custom valving or direct off the shelf. Some people are out there with just like sport springs, which is also fun because you can just toss it over all the grass and the curbs. It used to have a spec tire, but this year it's been opened up to all 200 treadwears, and so we've been experimenting with all of those. Right now we're on the Falcon, the new Falcon RT660s, and this weekend we're kind of blown away with them. I live real close to the tail of the Dragon, so I was kind of used to driving twisty roads, and I wanted to do more. Found this track community, and while I had done some other instructional type stuff, HPEs, immediately upon attending a GRIDLIFE, I knew like this was my home. So many people are family. It's just the good times that I had at my very first event locked it in. And since then I've dragged every friend I can. So now when I make the trip, it's more of a caravan and there's people to travel with in numbers. Specifically what brought me to Mid-Ohio, I love this track. It's one of the prettiest tracks on the schedule. It's also a pro course. It has awesome elevation change, and it was the first 3 days. So like, it's just awesome to finally have a Go Hard Thursday back again. So we can have a nice full week and running laps with our friends. We've had an awesome dry day, rain, and anybody that's ran Mid-Ohio in the rain knows like, it has some really wacky rain lines that make it super fun. And people tend to be really well behaved. So that keeps it going. Especially like with all the COVID stuff going on. Some of the social restrictions of the people I don't get to see, it's like these are my family. Losing one event a year hurts. Because like I want to get to the track and I have to see these people.
Nobody has more fun than the Fits.
GRIDLIFE Touring Cup has traversed the country from Austin, Texas to Joliet, Illinois to South Haven, Michigan, and all the way out to Colorado and now to Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin. It's time for GRIDLIFE Touring Cup round number 5 of the 2020 season from the National Park of Speed. Good afternoon. My name is Kyle Heyer, joined by Abe Schmucker for the 5th round of the 2020 GLTC season from Road America, a 4-mile road course built in 1955. It is a classic American road course, and we are all ready to go racing for the second time this weekend. Abe, yesterday, rain, calamity on lap number 1, and a full course caution meant that we only ran about a lap. And today we're going to do 3 races. So it's going to get wild out there. We're about to get ready to pace and run around our full pace lap before we turn them loose. But I don't know if we really know who's good yet. We didn't really get a chance to see.
We talked yesterday about how competitive the front of this field is, and really it's a dice roll to see who will come out on top. And with the rain yesterday, it was unclear who was going to be dominant. And at the moment, I don't know that anyone will be dominant. We'll see how the grid order shakes things up throughout the rest of the day.
Well, I think you have to look at Eric Cattell as possibly a favorite. He didn't start up at the front yesterday. He was up inside the top 5, but not on the front row. He went from 4th to 1st in one lap to take the lead and eventually his 13th GLTC victory. He will start on pole for this race. This is now lined up by lap time, and we'll go over the starting lineup here in just a moment. But Cattell is going to be starting right alongside Emil Tab, and Emil Tab he's been up front lately with his K-swap K-Miata here, but I'm not sure if he's quite got the pace to run down Eric Cattell. We'll find out this race.
So, and I guess GLTC history buffs at this point would remember last year at Road America, it was Aaron Lichty who was just effectively dominant. Really the first, K-Miata standout competitor in GLTC. And he's not been struggling this weekend yet, but I think there are more cars that are running with him up at the front.
Remember that last year, the only time in GLTC history that a driver has swept a weekend was Aaron Lichty last year at Road America. Yesterday, he started at the tail of the field because he was trying to play the point system. We have drop races this season. His drops right now are a 3rd and a 4th. He was going to start 6th. He said, I'm not going to run any better than 3rd or 4th, so I'm going to start at the back, run a fast lap time, and charge my way up and start for race number 2 in a good position. We got a full course caution before the end of that lap. So he's going to start 33rd today, which we saw Eric Cattell at Road Atlanta last year go from 33rd to 3rd. I think Aaron Lichty's going to have to pull off something very similar. He will be charging forward. Keep an eye on the number 190. Orange numbers, white and black car. He'll be slicing and dicing here. Let's roll through our starting lineup here. On the front row, Eric Cattell, the number 82 Honda Civic SI. Emil Tab will start on the outside of the front row in the 14 winning Formula car.
Up next, we've got a pair of S2000s with number 94 Tom O'Gorman in 3rd place, followed by car number 161 Todd Cayley. Both really fast drivers.
Pervez Randillo will roll off in 5th in row number 3 in his number 175 Scion FRS. Woody Hyman in the M3 802 car starts in 6th.
Starting 7th, car number 722 Scott Bowling, followed by car number 15 Brandon Puck.
Jeremy Boyston's number 99 RSX will roll off in 9th right alongside the 212 of Andy Smedgard in his yellow S2000.
A big winner from yesterday. Car number 61, David Alessandrini, making up a ton of positions, starting now in 11th, followed by car number 13, Ryan Upham.
In 13th place, the 325, another winning Formula entry, Rob Manicherry. right alongside Vitus Aronowskis, a new driver in the number 69. He starts 14th.
In 15th spot, car number 44, Kerry James, followed by street tire driver, car number 213, Scott Robertson.
Justin Kelly's Myriad Motorsports number 86 rolls off 17th. Not a great start yesterday. Who did get a great start, though? Ryan Christoph, plus 15 spots for an 18th place start today for Ryan Christoph.
Rounding out the 19th and 20th spot, car number 23, Jake Jorenstad, followed by car number 200, Jonathan Yu.
And a couple other notable drivers throughout the rest of the field. Eric Meadows will roll off in 23rd with his 2.5 swapped MX-5. That is a Ford power plant behind that car. And so is Luke McGrew. Similar build there. He'll roll off 35th after having coil pack issues yesterday. Lewis Chatroop was disqualified yesterday for passing under yellow flag conditions. Ben Harisco's brand new E46 build is out for the count after a contact with the kink wall the other day. It'll be one pace lap before we turn them loose here at Road America. It's 4 miles around. We've been told that the pace lap will be sped up so that we can get all of our race time in here. Other notable drivers that we should chat about real quick. Savannah Little starts 27th. Her first GLTC race was in Colorado back a few weeks ago. She did really well considering that car's under prep for the series. Bill Griffin rolls off 28th. And let's see, Andrew Work in the 102 car. This is only his, I think, second or third event. He ran Autobahn with us a couple months ago. He starts in 29th. He had a bit of an off in turn 8 yesterday, under right what you're actually seeing on screen right now.
And leading the battle for coolest guy in the GLTC field, car number 362, Charlie Ensland's running the K-swapped Fit, which is a very fast and very fun GLTC car.
It really is cool looking. I think he's got a new livery on that car this week as well. And we already mentioned Aaron Lichty starting 33rd. Oh boy, that's going to be a lot of action for him. I want an onboard to that car at some point because he's just going to be doing nothing but just driving through everybody. I want to see after lap 1 how many positions he can gain in 4 miles of Road America.
Yeah, I don't know if GridLife has a hard charger award, but I would fully expect that he would be in contention for it if it exists.
I hope that if Aaron Lichty can get through that and he does it safely. We saw some pretty wild starts yesterday. 3 wide for DJ Alessandrini on the inside between a competitor and the wall. There's Canada Corner, Abe, and we're about ready to get rolling here.
Yep, just a few more corners before drivers take the green flag, getting everybody lined up, set up together to take a good start.
And the run down to turn 1, thanks to the streaming guys for getting us a drone shot here. There is Eric Till in the number 82 Honda Civic. He's lined up against Emil Tab. Behind them, the S2000 duo, Tom O'Gorman and Todd Cayley. They started on the front row together last night, and Tom was the one that beat him down to turn 1. So as they climb up the hill here, cars probably in second gear awaiting the launch of the green flag. It's going to be 15 minutes of racing at Road America. It's the National Park of Speed. It is time to go racing in the streets as they did 60 years ago. Side by side as they take the green flag. And we're racing here at Road America. 3 wide, Scott bowling up the inside of Pervez Randalia. And up front, Eric Catil pulls ahead. They were 3 wide bowling. An amazing start. He's gone all the way to the front. Now I think he's 3rd or 5th as they head down into the first corner.
Yeah, great start by Catil, able to widen the gap on Emil Tab.
And Scott Bowling ended up in 5th place after all that. Emil Tab is in 2nd. I think that's Todd Cayley that's found his way into 3rd. One car way out wide over the curbing in turn number 1. That'll rattle your teeth out. Got to be real cautious of that and make sure that your car doesn't receive any damage from that. 3 wide heading down into turn number 3. Now out of turn 3, Eric Catil leads the way down the backstretch. If anybody can catch him, they better pass him now because he's not going to get that much slower. Behind him, I think that's Woody Hyman's number 802. He's in line, and look at them drag racing down the backstretch. Andy Smedgard pushing somebody on the straight.
Yeah, great start by everybody, making their way through turn 1 clean. Always exciting to see. And it looks like Emil Tab has pulled on Eric Catil and made his way into the first position.
And gone around him on the outside of turn number 5. That is an amazing pass if he can complete it. And he's almost clear as they run side by side up to turn number 6. Some slicing and dicing going on behind them. And it looks like Emil Tab has gotten out in front of Eric Catil through turn number 6 and 7.
Smedgard making a couple of moves as well, looking like he's in maybe 10th or 11th spot, making a couple of passes after a start that brought him back just a little bit.
DJ Alessandrini went a little bit wide at the exit of turn number 6, dropped a wheel off course, but he's back on now. 2 wide for the majority of the field now as we head through turn number 8 and into the carousel. This is where you need all the balance to balance your car and set it up for the run down through Kettle Bottoms and into the Canada corner on the backside of the track. But, I think Catil's right there with Emil Tab, but not able to get side by side just yet.
Even seeing some strong long battles here near the back of the pack. Lots of cars running too wide through the carousel.
And they're going to go out of our view here just behind the trees as they rocket on to the kink. This is the fastest corner on this racetrack. It is one of the most treacherous as well. A dab of the brakes. They're going side by side. I think that's Justin Kelly who's going around the outside of somebody through the kink. Unbelievable racing there. And I think we've gotten through it. Yes, we have. That might have been TJ Alessandrini that he was next to.
So exciting to see these drone shots providing coverage on the backside of the course. Great to see.
It is a beautiful racetrack, and you see the shadows of the trees getting shorter as the sun climbs in the sky into Canada Corner. Another good passing opportunity, and so far it doesn't look like there's a whole lot of people that took advantage of that. Look at Emil Tab on the braking zone, the car dancing under the brakes, and he has not won since Blackhawk Farms last year, so this will be an amazing win for him if he could pull it off right in front of the second winningest driver in this series, Eric Catil. They climb the hill now and complete their first lap, and it's a drag race down to turn number 1, Catil in the slipstream, and there's Woody Hyman in third. Let's keep an eye on the M3 back there.
Yeah, I thought I saw just a little bit of smoke off of Eric Catil's car, but maybe that's just the car-looking performance as it climbs up the hill.
And into turn number 1 again. Catil right on the tailpipes of that number 14. And maybe you don't want to be leading here. I think you could use the slipstream to get by on that last lap, so let's keep an eye on it. Rob Manicherry holding off an attack from behind. Let's check in where Aaron Lichty is. He started 33rd. He gained 10 spots. He's now 24th in the number 190. So that's a pretty good climb. Actually, he started 34th officially, so plus 10 for him. Plus 13 for Louis Chatroop. He was DQ'd yesterday after passing under yellow. He's up to 23rd place now. Scott Bowling is in 4th in the Cayman. I love to see that car running well. Tom O'Gorman down a few spots. He's lost 1. He's in 5th, battling with Todd Cayley.
Justin Kelly with a sizable improvement, up 6 spots from the start, up now into 12th position.
Well, that's what happens when you go too wide into the kink. You manage to gain something usually. And in 3rd place right now, Woody Hyman. I want to keep an eye on this car because he was super good at Gingerman Raceway earlier this year and Autobahn Country Club. I think Todd Cayley real slow out of turn number 5.
Losing some positions there for sure. I wonder if that car's okay mechanically.
Yeah, and you see Tom O'Gorman's gone by. Then the other yellow S2000, that's Andy Smedgard. He's going to try to go the long way around. Oh, big curb hop for Cayley. That's going to set him all over the place as they run down to 8. Smedgard might have a look. Driver's left. Here he goes.
Yeah, drivers making their way into 8 and now through the carousel. We'll see if Smedgard's able to make that pass on Cayley on the way through the carousel.
And then we know Andy Smedgard is a heck of a driver, and that car is prepared very well. Even though it's not maybe as polished looking as some of the other cars in the field, it's certainly faster than it is pretty. But he's made it up inside the top 10 here, battling for, looks like 7th now.
I think some drivers say looking good is sometimes as important as being good. I think Andy takes the opposite approach.
Looks like Eric Catil's gotten around Emil Tab for the race lead on the backside of the course, and Tab is putting the pressure back on as they head to Canada Corner. Behind them, there's Ryan Upham. He's battling right behind Todd Cayley in the 161. Andy Smedgard is leading a group with Pervez Randilia and DJ Alessandrini. Rob Manicherry's back a couple spots beyond that with Kerry James, a newer driver in the series. He's back there in 14th.
Yeah, DJ Alessandrini now running in 10th position, I believe. We'll see if he's made up any more spots after the start-finish line, but running well here, looking to make a pass again on its way through turn 14.
And we saw that with Emil Tab and Eric Catil battling, it's brought Woody Hyman right back into the fight. And here goes Ryan Upham. That's going to be past Scott Bowling for what will be 4th place. So across the line now, side by side, Tab going driver's left. Catil's got a little bit of overlap left, but now he gets cleared for turn number 1. And through goes Upham. He's side by side with Bowling as they head down to the first corner. And that will put Upham into 4th place, and he'll be able to chase the other red M3 for a podium spot.
Yeah, fantastic battle up front. Great to see Catil and Tab battling back and forth, but a lot of action here in the midfield as well.
And Aaron Lichty, another, plus 16 over the course of the race. He's in 18th spot now, a top 20 going for him as we see him making a pass down there into turn number 1. But look at Tab. I'm so impressed with how Tab is racing so far. He's got to be having a blast in that car with Catil just basically swapping back and forth as they head down the backstretch towards 5.
Yeah, we see Bowling and Upham, just a little bit of a gap behind the top 3 cars, but a train of everybody following that, and good battles throughout.
Now the long run down to turn number 5. Look how close this is. Eric Catil having a look out to driver's left as they run up to turn number 6. I have a feeling that Catil's car is going to be slightly better through this middle sector. This is the more technical portion of the racetrack. I think he's being out-dragged on the straightaways by Tab, but he's better in the corners, Catil is. So you see him hounding him through turn 7 now.
6.5 minutes in since the green flag. I expect we're about the halfway point in this race. So drivers will be looking for making their passes and making things stick for the rest of this race.
And now through the carousel, a long right-hand corner. It's all about balance. We talked about it briefly. The front-wheel drive cars I would feel would struggle here, but I've talked to Tom O'Gorman about Eric's car because Tom's driven that car before. He says Eric's car will actually turn more on throttle the way that he has that diff set up, which is crucial in a long corner like that. There's the run down to the kink now. Tab still leads as they head through the highest speed corner at Road America.
Woody Hyman looks like to be just maybe about a second behind, 5 or 6 car lengths probably. We'll see if he has enough pace to begin to challenge the front two.
Oh, a bit of a gaggle back here behind Scott Bowling. There's Tom O'Gorman and hello, DJ Alessandrini. Those cars are teammates. The Speedbox crew, Alessandrini in the orange and white 61, Tom O'Gorman in the yellow S2000. They're buddies off the racetrack. They're buddies on the racetrack. Maybe they'll work together and maybe bump draft a little bit, Abe. Long enough straights here to make that a somewhat successful strategy.
It looks like driver Andy Smedgaard's been able to make up a couple of more positions, looking now like he's running in 5th spot.
Scott Bowling's came in. It was really strong out of the gate, but he seems like he's struggling a bit now. There's O'Gorman, then Scott Bowling, then DJ Alessandrini. Pervez Randilia's here as well. Ooh, a bit of a checkup at corner exit. Pervez takes a look to driver's right. There's Justin Kelly on driver's left. He'll have the line in the draft, and looks like Pervez will lose a spot. And now the two FRSs in tandem, both red FRSs, 2 different power plants in those cars trying to make it by DJ Alessandrini's 06 Civic.
So the gap between Andy Smedgaard and Ryan Upham is about a second and a half, with only probably 2 to 3 more laps left in this race. Let's see if he can close the gap and make that pass on Upham.
Aaron Lichty only gained 1 spot that lap, but he did run the fastest lap, a 2:32.543. Louis Chatroop up 17 spots from where he started. That equals Aaron Lichty. He's up to 19th place now. Dan Capaldo's up 3 spots. Tiffany Kelly up 6. She had a clutch throwout bearing failure. Car sideways. That looks to be, I think that's the 99 of Vizette Boyson. That is off in turn number 1. I think that's who that was.
You hate to see it because with the pace of these cars, a mistake like that effectively just costs you the race.
Yeah, turn 1 is very bumpy here, so that could be the reason why we saw that car lose grip and go out of control. But no damage to that car, it looks like, off in the ubiquitous runoff that's available in that area. There's Aaron Lichty having a pass. I think that was one of our new drivers. That I think was the where would that be? He was 18th. He was looking at Brandon Puck, I think, in the 15 down into turn number 5. So he should be through and clear of that position. You see in the background that the silver MX-5 is Eric Meadows, and he's battling one of those other RSXs into 5 as well. There's Tiffany Kelly and Bill Griffin.
Actually, it looks like Jeremy Boyson was able to make his way back on track and not lose as many positions as I thought. Kind of finding probably in his maybe 22nd position-ish after his entry back on track.
I'd be really interested to see some onboard video later to see what kind of sent that car around. It is so bumpy down there that it's so easy to get the car upset over those bumps, especially if you overcook the corner. But the race lead was swapping between Emil Tab and Eric Catil. Catil's victories, he's got 13 of them. Emil Tab's only got a handful. They all came at Blackhawk Farms last year. He has not really been in a field at the front that's been this deep, and the talent that goes this far back through the field. So to win this race would be absolutely enormous for Emil Tab. And we wait for the field to come up over the crest of 14, but Eric Catil's gotten back by, and Tab slots into second. Woody Hyman's right there, but just not quick enough. Upham is closing and closing quickly, though.
Looks like Smedgaard's not able to close the gap on Upham, and Tom O'Gorman is now on Smedgaard's tail. We'll see if he's able to make a pass here on his way up to turn 1.
And a big gaggle behind Scott Bowling again. Look at those two FRS. Is going to try to split them 3 wide. Justin Kelly goes up driver's right. Pervez Randilia is boxed in as they come on through. Eric Catil has lost the lead again to Emil Tab on the front straight, and now Woody Hyman's putting pressure on that 82 car down into turn number 1, and we're side by side behind them for that about 7th or 8th spot with DJ Alessandrini, Scott Bowling, Justin Kelly, and Pervez Randilia.
Fantastic racing in the top 10 positions here. Really, really exciting race to watch.
I would expect that next time we might get the white flag. But for the race lead, again, Tab has been so good coming out of turn 14 and getting that launch down the straightaway, but he loses speed through that middle sector when Eric Catil's car comes alive. But here's side by side now, Tom O'Gorman and Andy Smedgaard, very similar looking as 2000s, and Tom's adjustments to that VTEC, his Haltech ECU, has made that car a lot faster coming into this week after Colorado.
Drivers making their way up to, it looks like
turn 5 down
turn 5.
Here. And DJ Alessandrini is now feeling pressure from Scott Bowling. And DJ's going to run a little bit wide all the way out to the edge of the curbing, as does Justin Kelly. That's about as much as you want to use out there. Beyond that's all grass.
Now Bowling losing a few positions overall, but now battling well against DJ.
And through turn 7 now, running down to 8. And update on points leader Aaron Lichty. He's up to 13th now, plus 21 spots for him. Chatroop's up 20. Pervez Randelia is down 3. Justin Kelly up 9 spots. Ryan Upham up 8. So we've had a lot of drivers coming and going at the front of the field, but it's still been Tab and Catil out front as they were since the drop of the green flag here.
So I imagine as we find our camera angle out at turn 14, we might see Catil at the front again, but who knows if he's going to give that position back to Tab by the time of start.
We should have a glimpse right here. There they are again, side by side. Catil's on driver's left. You want driver's right going into Canada corner, so let's see if Tab can hang on to it this time. I'm curious to see if Catil is doing this on purpose, if he wants to be in a certain spot at a certain corner to get that run on the front straight, but he lost the lead at the line the last time through, so I can't imagine he wants to be leading. I think he'd rather be second and get that run onto the front straight. Here we go into turn number 14 now as they climb the hill through Bill Mitchell Bend, and it's Catil on outside driver's left. He stayed there through the corner, and Tab's on driver's right behind him. 2 M3s approaching. The shark fin is coming in the water. Here they come up the hill as there's definitely smoke coming out of the 82 car.
It could be just a little bit of tire rub. I'm not sure.
And white flag is being displayed for the race leaders side by side across the line. Here they come. 1 more lap, 4 more miles around Road America, and Emil Tab leads the way. Catil, Ryan Upham, and the 802 of Woody Hyman all line astern as they come across the line. Behind them, it's a great scrap there with Justin Kelly, and looks like there's Kerry James is in there as well. He's a new driver to the series. He's up 7 spots into 8th place, and he's now playing up there inside the top 10.
Yeah, it seems like Tab is just able to pull on Catil on the way up that hill, just enough to be able to take first position and make it stick by the time
you know that he's calculated that now, and he knows exactly what he needs to do when we come out of turn 14 again. He leads down the back straightaway under the Sargento Bridge. Headlights flashing on Upham's car. He's gotten through Hyman to put himself on the podium after starting outside the top 10. They run down to 5. Watch Upham come. He might be able to steal a podium or maybe even a second or first place away from these 2 leaders.
Yeah, you never know what happens up at the front. With these 2 guys battling, it's very possible that they make a mistake that costs them race position.
And Tom O'Gorman's lurking back there in 6th place as well behind Smedgard. It's a 5-car fight. Make it 6, make it 7. DJ Alessandrini's there as well. A 7-car breakaway at the front through turn 6 and down through 7. Catil all over the back of Emil Tab as they head down through 7 and into 8. And now it gets really crucial where you place your car for this last sector.
What do you think is going through Catil's mind on his way?
Oh, we got cars off and in the fence at the exit of turn number 6. Is that Scott Bowling's
It appears
Cayman?
to be Scott Bowling.
And full course caution is out. And Bowling's Cayman appears to have backed it into the fence a little bit. And I'm not sure. We have a yellow displayed on the timing and scoring. I'm not sure. This is a double yellow, I believe. So this will make all positions will be frozen at the time of caution. And we'll find out who wins this race here in just a moment. But let's hold off and wait and make sure that these drivers are okay. We'll get assess the damage on the race cars.
It appears to be Emil Tab up front.
Emil Tab is the current race leader. Eric Catil in 2nd. As we wait for the field to cycle back around. So drivers left and drivers right appear to be 2 cars involved in it. It could have been Scott Bowling and maybe Kerry James, I think was the other car, the 44. And we'll go back and look at that here in a little bit. But coming up through 14, we'll have our race leader, Emil Tab. And he was able to hold off Eric Catil in a crucial time when the yellow flag came out. And as they come out of turn number 14, it'll be the first win in 2020 for Emil Tab. And he'll steal one from Eric Catil as they climb up the hill.
Hard-fought battle, changing position with Catil multiple times. But it looks like Aaron Lichty's going to make up more than 20 positions here, finding his way into the top 15 during this race.
Yeah, Aaron Lichty up 21 spots. Checkered flag waving. Emil Tab from the winning Formula Camp out of Louisville, Kentucky. The K-Miata takes the victory at Road America. Eric Catil 2nd. Ryan Upham 3rd. Woody Hyman in 4th. Smedgard. Then Tom O'Gorman. DJ Alessandrini. And no, Kerry James was not the other car that was involved. He did cross the line in 8th place. Justin Kelly, 9th. Pervez Randelia, 10th. Rob Manicherry, Aaron Lichty in 12th. Louis Chatroop in 13th. Greg Kuhn, Vitus Aronowskis in 15th. Scott Robertson will come across the line in 16th. Scott Bowling is the driver involved in that incident over in turn number 6.
So at the start of this race, we were talking about Aaron Lichty as the potential hard charger for the race, but it's Louis Chatroop with up 23 positions to finish in 13th. Congratulations to him.
Yeah, that's an unbelievable climb for Chatroop, and we know that he's a talented race car driver. Again, pass under yellow, it happens. Eric Catil did it in Gingerman earlier this year. It happens to the best of people, but he managed to make his way through the field 23 spots forward. So now we're going to start seeing who's not here when we get back to the start-finish line, and we'll figure out who that other car is. It's a dark-colored car. I thought it was the 44, but it might not be, because he came across the line. Well, it definitely isn't him. He crossed the line in 8th, which for him, that's a great run for Kerry James, a new driver that we haven't seen here in GLTC.
So drivers now on their cool down, finishing the race here, looking for just a couple of more people to cross the line.
Yeah, and I'm still waiting to see who's absent from the timing screen until we can get a better view of what's going on there in turn number 6. And of course, Road America's safety crew, one of the best in the business, they'll get out there and attend to these drivers and cars, and I'm sure we'll have no issues. But again, it's never fun. Turn number 6, I mentioned it's a blind corner, Abe. You come up over that crest and you can't see what's going on. So it's very easy to lose the car there as the car gets light over the crest. And it's possible we just had a 2-car incident. And unfortunately for Scott Bowling, we were just talking on Thursday night. He was discussing putting lighter weight doors on that car because he said, I'm not going to do it until I put scratches on these doors. And unfortunately, in a turn of unfortunate events, it looks like he might have put a scratch or 2 on those doors.
Well, you're looking for motivation to do something else.
I guess so. So there's Scott Bowling is one car. And is that Bill Griffin maybe?
No, I don't think so.
Who is that? I can't really get a look at that. It's really small.
It might be Bill Griffin.
I didn't have Bill Griffin. Did I have him returning? I feel like he came across the line in a reasonable spot. He finished 22nd. Let's find out. I'm going to step away for a minute and find out who this driver is. I will be right back.
So right now, Kyle, checking with race control to see which other car has been involved in this incident. But fantastic race for all drivers involved. Great battles, front to back, and lots of drivers making clean, sticky passes, making sure to race as cleanly as possible. Super exciting, and congratulations to all drivers involved. Now, as the drivers come in from the race, making their exit at turn 5, we'll see a couple of these, I think it's probably the top 5 cars, make their way to be impound to check race weight, things like that, making sure that all of these race positions stick.
All right, I am back, and so what I'm hearing is that it's the 2-0 car, which I'm trying to think, is it 2-0-0 maybe? Is it Jonathan Yu? Could be Jonathan Yu in the 2-0-0. Yes, it is. Thank you. It is Jonathan Yu's 2-0-0. That is a BMW involved. So Jonathan Yu and Scott Bowling, the 2 drivers involved in the turn 6 collision. Well, those cars, I think one of them took a decently heavy hit to the tire barrier, but we'll update you a little bit later. But let's kind of debrief here a little bit. Mule Tab wins his first race since Blackhawk Farms last year. Eric Catil finishes 2nd. Ryan Upham, how about his drive? He started all the way back in 12th spot. He finished in 3rd. That is a pretty insane drive forward. Tom O'Gorman ended up down 2 spots. Andy Smedgard, top 5 for him.
Yeah, fantastic. I think Upham's been working on this car for a while now, trying to get things sorted and dialed in. And if you look at fast laps of the race, pretty on pace with everybody, running right now at the 233 ranges. So, that car is there. And I think he'll have the opportunity to battle for the top spot on the podium for the rest of the weekend.
So I think we're going to just kind of wrap things up here. We'll take a short break before the next time attack session. A reminder that points leader Aaron Lichty up in 12th. He ran the fastest lap of the race at 2:31.468. 10:30 a.m. is going to be our next time attack session, so just under 20 minutes from now. Then 11:30, our next GLTC race. Then 1:20 time attack. We'll finish up the day with GLTC race number 4. Thanks so much for watching. We'll be back in 20 minutes for time attack. Welcome back live to Road America for GridLife's Elkhart Classic at the National Park of Speed. My name is Kyle Heyer, joined by Abram Schmucker this afternoon for our next time attack session after a lengthy cleanup process in turn number 6 after a GridLife Touring Cup spill over there. We had an HPD session between then and now it's time to get back out on track here, Abe. Again, the weekend has been kind of wet and gloomy. And it remains gloomy today, but without the wet. No rain expected this afternoon, but temperatures in the mid to high 60s, and time to get those fast cars on a track again.
Yeah, if we're lucky, we might get just a little bit of sunshine, but at the moment we've got cloud cover, so track temperature's not too high, but at least it's dry.
It is dry, and we saw some pretty solid lap times earlier in the day, and you can see here's a look from up above the racetrack. A beautiful facility here in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin. We saw some lap times that were pretty close, and actually some track records have already fallen today. And I think I would expect more to fall now because the track is even a little drier than it was this morning. It was still a little bit damp. It seems like that's sort of burned off, and we've got probably the driest, fastest track that we've seen all weekend. And I guess we'll find out here shortly.
And drivers are getting more comfortable, too. I mean, if this is effectively the second true dry session of the weekend, you'd expect the drivers on pace up front to maybe improve just a little bit. We see Ryan Matthews coming around here to start his hot lap. He was really fast in the last session and is now the street mod record holder. I don't know how much potential is left in that car. I'm most looking forward to see Jackie Ding to see how much more time he can improve off of his personal best.
And we know Jackie Ding's car, and he'd been sort of trading blows with Alex Moss at tracks like Autobahn and Gingerman Raceway earlier this year as Alex Moss goes on through. But Jackie Ding's car, I think, is set up more for straightaway speed, and it seems like, and he's got aero on this car for sure, but I think this car, it's a little bit heavier than that competing S2000, so I think this track is going to be a Jackie Ding racetrack in street mod this week for that 86 TA90.
I think one of his biggest challenges is being able to pull out enough aerodynamic performance to get the straight line speed he needs to climb to the top position. Alex Moss, conversely, is going to be gear limited, so he was looking to put on as much downforce into the car as possible to try and make up his lack of overall top speed, which is 150, to try and make up some of that time in the corners.
Yeah, and there he is right now, doing all of 150 off into turn number 5. Right behind him is Kobe Shield in Street GT. He's been taking that Camaro to new heights with track records earlier. 225.853 is what we got to beat. Josh Halka has a straight record right now, 229.451. Ryan Matthews, you mentioned, 221.067 street mod record there. And track mod, again, I'd expect that. I would think that would. Well, there's nobody in track mod, is there? Oh, there is.
It's Steve Loudon / Tom O'Gorman, but Tom's been running 223s several laps over the last few sessions. I'm not sure how much more performance is left in that car on the tires that are currently being run.
Yeah, I'm not sure that we're going to see the track mod record fall in the unlimited one. I don't think we have any unlimited cars here. We have some super unlimiteds with some stock cars that are out there having a good time here at Road America. But you can see also the go-kart track. There's some people playing down there. That's a cool place.
So, for context, the track mod record right now, 2:15.623, set by Jeremy Swenson in a C6 ZR1, which was swapped from a supercharged motor back to NA, about 600 wheel horsepower. I'm actually kind of surprised that we're not seeing more performance out of that C7 ZR1 with Tom driving.
Yeah, and I'm sure, again, that car is pretty much as it rolled off the showroom. So, I think when Swenson's car is definitely far from stock.
8 seconds is a lot of seconds.
Yeah, 8 seconds is a lot of seconds. He's found some time there. There's Jackie Ding, bit of a slide at a turn 14 up the hill. First car across the line is going to be Ryan Matthews, and he needs to beat a 221.067, and he does. A 220.691 is a new street modified record. Jackie Ding across the line. He goes to the top of the board. How about a 220.343 for Jackie Ding?
And if you see a replay of Jackie coming up the hill on his way out of turn 14, he's got some splitter flapping up front a little bit there. So the aero not working perfectly for that session. When everything goes right, expect to see him go faster.
And Kobe Shield, a 225.997. He'll be third overall. And Alex Moss backed it down. There was a caution on course. And I wonder if the aero on Jackie Ding's car ended up breaking loose. But we do have a yellow on the racetrack somewhere. I don't know where it is.
So a substantial improvement over the track record from the previous session. 223.43 is very fast and coming very close to the line that you and I were talking about yesterday, which was expect street mod times by the end of the weekend to end up in 218, 219 range.
It was Kobe Shield that had spun at the exit at turn number 3, so he will return back to pit lane. And it still looks like the yellow flag is still displayed from at least the starting stand here. So Kobe going to bring that car on back.
Well, let's hope. I've heard instances of some of these modern cars having airbags deployed by hitting the curbs too hard. Let's hope we didn't have anything like that.
Well, he's got his hazards flashing, which makes me a little bit worried about that sort of thing, which is typically cars when they sense some sort of collision, they have their hazards come on as a warning to passing motorists. Well, it's no longer relevant really on a racetrack, but I think when you see those hazards, especially on some of the German manufacturers like Audis and BMWs, that they've either sensed a collision or had something happen. Kobe was off track. I don't know if he spun it or if he just pulled it over there, but I'm sure we'll get an update on that a little bit later.
Yeah, so really fast time set by both Jackie Ding and Ryan Matthews. 2:20 is very fast for street mod times. And
Kobe Shield, he was actually just shy of breaking his own record there. He's at a 10th off. Brian Blaine goes third quick in this session with a 2:25.220 in his track mod car. Electron Sport, they were really fast in Group C earlier. They were all the way up now in Group A in the street mod, and 2:27.172 for them, 6th right now in this session.
It's kind of amazing. Electron Sport making massive improvements over previous sessions, but as far as I can tell, that Electron Sport car is another C5 prepped Corvette. But look at the difference in pace between Electron Sport and Ryan Matthews. 7 seconds separate the first few cars in the street mod group. Crazy fast times set by Ding and Matthews.
Unbelievable. And so Jackie Ding, I think that'll probably be all that he'll run for the day. He's done what he needed to come do, is ran the fast lap. And I think that might be it for at least this session. He'll come back again and try again later.
Jackie's a competitor, though, and I would not expect Ryan Matthews to slow down, and I don't think Jackie is safe yet. I think you've got to take all your sessions.
Well, here is that ZR1 Corvette we were talking about briefly that has had Tom O'Gorman driving it this weekend, and I'm not sure if it's Tomo or
I'm guessing
Steve.
It's Steve.
238.138 as he comes up the hill. I believe this is Steve in the car. As he rockets onto the front straight, climbing over 150 to 60 miles an hour, and 249.775 that time through. So here's a big group of cars, including those stock cars we were talking about earlier. Gosh, those things are so cool.
I love that shake and bake decal on the back.
That's awesome. Climbing up the hill now. And I don't know what transmissions are in those cars, but if they're what those cars would normally be, it would be a 4-speed manual transmission with not a whole lot to help you. Heel toe downshifting, and that's the old-fashioned way of doing it around here. And across the line, Ben Orick will do a 232.419 in his. The quickest of the group has been Jess Moding, a 230.599 for those stock car platforms. Jess Moding, Carl Thomas, and Ben Orick, the ones that we're watching right now. Across the line next is Chris Bickford in the 335 Street GT car. That is a Corvette. He comes across the line with that was a 3:16.1, but his best time a 2:29.165.
So a little bit of action here in the remainder of this session. We're about 9 minutes in. Drivers improving, but the overall fast guys are probably on their way back to the paddock already.
Yeah, I think so, and I think I'm surprised that we haven't seen who am I thinking of? Alex Moss back out. He slowed down coming out of turn 14, and he did not run a fast lap. So
not yet, but
surprised.
I think he's on a fast one right now. I saw him make his way past start-finish at speed just a couple of minutes ago.
Okay, so we should see him return to the line here and put it down a pretty decent time. To beat Jackie Ding's time, he need to get to a 2:20.343. I'm just not sure that car
I don't think
it
can.
Right.
He was saying to me in the paddock yesterday that best case scenario, he's hoping for a third place finish. And it's really just because that car doesn't have the top speed gearing it needs to be able to be competitive here.
Well, then that's sort of frustrating, I'm sure, to come to a racetrack and know that you're not, I think for Jackie Ding, I think he's driver limit a lot, where the car has so much to give that Jackie's just got to find that edge and get to it, right? When you're in a car and you know that you're getting everything you can out of it, and the car's preventing you from getting there, that's got to be an extra bit of frustration.
Well, and Alex Moss and his mechanic Andy Smegard are working on and have been developing a DCT swap into his Turbo K S2000. And he's been working on that development for about a year. And the competitive season has kind of gotten in the way of taking the time necessary to finish the development and the swap of that transmission. But he told me that once that trans is done, it will be effectively the sky's the limit with respect to gearing. I think he's well over 200 available potential if he has enough power.
James Rock going 226, 317. He'll go to 5th overall. And across the line comes some of these stock cars. You hear them from a mile away thundering up the hill. And there's a low-hanging cloud there over the front straightaway. I can't really tell if that's on the camera or if that's on the sky. Across the line comes Josh Halka, 246. That's not going to be an improvement that time. Nick Gardner, no improvement for him. And Chris Bickford across the line, and also Ben Misch, his best time of the session to 232.415, no improvement. Moss hits pit lane again, still no time.
And it looks like Josh Halka's best time, 229.256. If we could pull the track records up, I'm not sure if that's an improvement on his previous personal best. Yeah, it is. So another improved record for Josh Halka with a 229.256, new track record for the street class.
And by 0.2 of a second, just sort of chipping away at it. And I think a lot of that is, again, we talked about track conditions, also driver comfort. The longer you run over the course of the weekend, the faster you're going to get. Again, Road America is a daunting racetrack, and even for me yesterday in Ben Harisco's Miata, my biggest fear was doing something silly in a car I don't own. So I was working up to the speed and challenging the braking zones a little bit deeper every time. I still didn't get anywhere near what Ben would be capable of in that car. But every lap, you're just pushing the car a little bit more. And the more laps that you get, I think the better off you are.
Absolutely. I think a lot of these corners, you're kind of really just focused on hitting your brake markers, but it's the carousel and the kink that drivers are working up to find the limit of one, where they're comfortable, but what their car is capable of.
Yep. And I think the kink especially, that'll come and bite you. Driving through there, you notice that there's a safer barrier out there, which is kind of a NASCAR-style steel tubing, and then there's foam blocks, and then it's the concrete wall. So that wall can actually move to absorb impact. On driver's right, it's just concrete, and there's paint marks from every kind of car from the last 10 years on that wall. When you go drive through there, you're reminded that, you have to treat they told us at the beginner meeting, respect the kink. They got reiterated about 10 times throughout the course of the meeting. Do not do something silly over there. Across the line, Steve Loudon, no improvement that time. He'll stay 16th in the session. James Rout goes quicker, 223.904 in the 991 car.
Yeah, James Rout kind of still working up to, I don't want to say working up to pace, that's not really fair, but still finding the limit of performance in himself as a driver, because we know that those GT2 RSs here are insanely quick.
Yeah.
I think the track record in a GT2 RS, Porsche came here and did, I think it was a 211. So lots and lots of potential out of that car under ideal circumstances.
Vladimir Skurda has gone quicker in street, 229.114, new street record here at Road America. So that for Vladimir Skurda, he's going to skirt right into the top spot there in street class.
Now, I think if my information is correct, I think that the setup mechanically between Vladimir Skurda and Josh Halka is very similar. I believe they're both running the new Subaru STI S209 turbos. Been some clever interpretations of the rules that have allowed these cars to put this kind of special edition turbo on this STI and make all the power. Certainly more than a lot of the other competitors in street class. And so kudos to them for reading the rules and finding that edge.
For sure. And also, while we're waiting for the next group to get on track, it'll be Group B up next here at Road America. So Vladimir Skurda will go to the top of street with a new track record. Jackie Ding puts a new street mod record down here in this session as well. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure that you hit the subscribe button to be back for more. We've got more coming to you here on Grid Life Live this season, so make sure that you don't miss it. And the best way to not miss it is to hit that red button and make it gray. And if you're on Facebook, make sure you like the page and like the video, share it with all your buddies, and tell them and show them what they're missing here at the National Park of Speed at Road America. Group B coming up in just a little while. We've got more Grid Life Touring Cup action coming up right after. We're on about a 15 to 20 minute delay due to a cleanup after the second GLTC race of the weekend. And I was a little bit disappointed in the way that ended, Abe, because we had an incredible battle shaping up at the front that just never got to happen.
Yeah, and a really packed schedule for the rest of the day. We don't have to wait very long to see some more GLTC racing.
I think we have a short break around lunchtime, and then there's an HPD session. So we're going to have a little bit of a lunch break this afternoon. So that gives everyone that's watching time to go grab Mike's Harder from the fridge and sit down with a sandwich and enjoy yourself before you come on back to watch more racing.
It's also an excellent opportunity to hit up the Gearbox
Yes.
lunch station because they have some good food.
I cannot wait to go back. I had breakfast there yesterday morning, and boy, it was good. The track food here, everyone told me it was going to be really good. I just didn't know it was going to be that good. So I will be returning there during the lunch break. So Time Attack Group B up next. Cars are on grid, just waiting to get the permission to roll. And I appreciate everybody for joining us here this afternoon. Again, it was not a fun day yesterday weather-wise. It was just this weird rain that was kind of on and off, and it was just I got frustrated at the end of the day. I said, it needs to rain or not rain. It can't keep doing this like in between.
It was just enough rain to keep everybody slow.
It was just enough rain to keep everybody slow, and it was just enough rain to make me angry because I was like, do I wear a jacket? Do I not wear a jacket? You know, I can't go too far without, you know, losing it or putting it somewhere I don't want to have it. So I'm glad that we don't have to worry about that today. I just wish we could get some more sunshine. It is peeking out of the clouds. I haven't seen it yet today, though. It just feels like we're living in eternal darkness out here. But still clouds over, but no rain for this afternoon.
So I just got feedback from Jackie Ding. So I said on the broadcast that he was having trouble with his splitter. Big old crack up front. Looks like he's done for the weekend.
Oh,
so
man.
He's kind of a sitting duck to see if Ryan Matthews can speed up here.
Oh, boy. Well, we're going to have one more Time Attack session with Group A at 1:20 p.m. Central Time later today, and that'll be the last opportunity for someone to dethrone Jackie. But he's got the record as of now, so you can keep those fingers crossed and hope that he doesn't get eclipsed in that final session of the day. Group B out on track now as they roll off the pit lane.
So we've got, I think it was Electron Sport and Alex Arteat leading the Group B release. Both those drivers are very fast and capable, and it'll be exciting to see if they're able to improve in this session.
If anyone has any questions or would like to know more, I'm monitoring the YouTube chat, so you can keep an eye out, we'll keep an eye out for you. So if you want to ask us any questions about either Time Attack, how the classes work, or about GridLife Touring Cup, we can talk to you there. If you have any questions about HPDE and how to get involved with GridLife, we can help you get tuned in as well, because we're not done not only for this weekend, we're not done for the year yet. We've still got a couple more rounds. We've got Midwest Festival in October, and then November 7th and 8th is our NOLA Bayou Bash for GridLife, and that's going to be a really entertaining event. We're going to have drift out there, and it'll be the first time we've ever visited that racetrack, so we're returning to the south at NOLA Motorsports Park November 7th and 8th, so be there. And
you know, I'm really looking forward to that one. I've never been to that track, but I always hear good things. So it'll be exciting to try someplace new. I love going to new tracks.
The guys behind the scenes are cracking me up. I said that we're living in eternal darkness, and they're I'm good, guys. Thanks for checking in. But the car's rolling, and again, if you have any questions, let us know. And great to be with you this afternoon. And you know, I've visited some really cool tracks this season, Abe. Before last year, I had only ever been to Watkins Glen, so because I'm sort of local to there. In the past year, I've been to Gingerman Raceway, Road Atlanta, Sonoma Raceway, Audubon Country Club, Road America. Where else have I been? Colorado, Pikes Peak International Raceway.
You're kind of living that grid life, aren't you?
I'm living the grid life, and it's awesome.
Yeah.
You know?
That's how they get you.
I feel like I'm missing one. Where? Oh man, I'm going crazy. I can't remember. I can't. I'm getting to the point where I can't remember.
You were at Mid-Ohio.
Mid-Ohio.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't remember how many tracks I've been to. Life has been a blur, but it's been an exciting blur.
So drivers finishing their warm-up, probably on their way into Canada Corner right about now. Hoping to keep temperatures cool in the car, keep things from heat soaking, and then turn it up right out of 14.
Yeah, and this is such a big track. You know what's nice about this place, though, is sometimes you'll have trouble properly warming up the car and properly cooling down the car after a lap. At this place, you have 4 miles to warm up and usually about 2 miles to cool down. So you've got plenty of time. Typically you'd have to make it, designate an entire lap to cooling down, but here you can still kind of get after it for a little bit before you have to return to the pits. So Alex Artea will be the first driver across the line. Orange Crush Racing second across the line. Then Jared Garcia, Ryan Dusix, Mark Brilo, and Peter Granberg, the next group, and they'll start their timed laps here.
So again, lots of really interesting builds in the Time Attack Track Battle series. I think that's a JDM Subaru wagon, followed by Ben Thorne in his Civic EK hatch. Crazy builds. Really just build the car you'd like to drive and come compete. That's kind of our model.
I have decided that we need more wagons.
Yeah.
In everything. Wagons are the coolest things. And I wish that there were more wagons to choose from. You know what? We need a Cadillac CTS wagon.
V-wagon?
Yeah.
A couple of years ago, we did have CTSVs run in Time Attack on occasion. I think the big challenge with the second-gen CTSVs is that it's got a ton of horsepower in a motor that's pretty reliable, but the big challenge in Time Attack is that they are extremely heavy.
Yeah.
And what that means is you're hard on brakes, right? Brake temperatures go way up, and your opportunities to do fast laps really isn't that many.
Right. It takes a lot of energy to stop cars, and even in smaller cars, I think you're fighting. My big impression, my first time riding a race car was Tom O'Gorman. My first impression of riding in a race car was how many more G's you feel on braking versus anything else that you do in the car. Acceleration didn't surprise me. The cornering didn't surprise me. It was the braking and the stopping. There's so much energy that gets dissipated, and it's all in the form of heat and a little bit of light when it gets, there's a little bit of light involved in that too with some glowing rotors. But it's a lot of energy to dissipate, and it's one of the hardest beat-on parts of cars at racetracks.
Now, one of the interesting things about this track, I think there might be a perception that this track is really hard on brakes. And, there are some heavy brake zones, but there's plenty of opportunity for brake cooling between those heavy brake zones. So drivers aren't often battling with extreme brake temperatures, much like they might at a short track with limited brake cooling like Blackhawk Farms.
Right, or even, I guess at Pikes Peak you've got a pretty good section to cool down as well. But you're like smaller tracks. You're leaning on brakes a lot more. You get a lot more reps in getting the heat in the brakes and then releasing them and cooling them off again. At a track like this, you're on the brakes for not super long, and then you get a long time to cool them off.
Absolutely.
It is definitely heavy brake application. But it's for a pretty short period of time.
Well, and in this case, it's not just a long time between, but it's also high speed in between. So you've got a ton of rotors to keep it cool.
Absolutely. So Ryan Dusix across the line, 229.893 in his unlimited car. Alex Artea at second in overall Street GT, leading the session at 233.103. Clay Davidson in third with a 233.654 in Street Mod. Then Orange Crush Racing, another Street Mod car, 233.740.
So I believe that the car run by Jeremy Boyson, which is a 234.865 on this last lap, is being co-driven by previous Street Mod champion and longtime hiatus to GRIDLIFE person, Graham Gaylord. So he won Street Mod in 2017, I think. In a Subaru STI that was really pushing the envelope at the time with respect to how much power you could make and what kind of aero you could do. And so after his win, he took a little bit of a step back and is now working with Jeremy Boyson on developing the C8 Corvette. C8 Corvette.
The Corvette. Jeremy Boyson brings a lot of race cars to have fun with every weekend. He was out there in GLTC earlier, and he's got a car to play with in Time Attack, and I aspire to be Jeremy Boyson. He's a good guy.
You know
he's
what?
got a lot of toys.
If under the right circumstances, Jeremy will tell you the story about how he got to this point in his life, and it's a remarkable story. Started a business out of his basement with $1,200 and became decently successful, and he's not an old guy.
Yeah, it's pretty cool to see. So Ryan Dusix, still the fastest driver on track. Across the line comes, I believe that was Nick Kors. Yes, it is. He's just starting a flying lap there. There's a look down into turn number 5. And again, through the trees here, and this is such a beautiful racetrack. I just cannot get over how cool this place is. There's Drew Cleaver in the 717, or that was the Model 3 Tesla. And Drew ran at Pikes Peak in his own category, but he's got this car set up differently this time so that he can compete in the track mod class. And so far, his time, he just ran a 2:34.858, which I think is the fastest lap he's run this weekend.
Yeah, it's pretty quick, but about 5 seconds off of the overall Street GT pace. And this is something we kind of expected. So I don't know how much more pace is in a car like that for a big track like this, which really doesn't suit the electric cars all that well.
Yeah, again, we talked about this briefly, but this track, it's good to have top-end speed, and Teslas are amazing at accelerating all that torque that they have all the time. But then when you get to the high speed, the drag starts to play a big factor, and you just run out of juice at the end of the straightaways here. And you're not going to get the top speed that you need to really be competitive here. But I'm sure he's having fun, and it's so fun to watch him go by our windows here because you can't hear it. It's just a whoosh of wind as it goes by.
And your acceleration on its way up to start-finish is in some way just going to be limited by how heavy the car is, right? So a lighter car with lots of horsepower is always going to accelerate faster.
Right.
And you're kind of lugging that weight up the hill out of turn 11, and I'm sure that his top speed on the front straight is nowhere near someone like Kobe Shields by comparison.
And Kobe Shield will be well into the 140s, maybe even closing in on our passing 150 at the end of the front straight here. Certainly passing 145 or 150 down into turn 5, which we're having a look at right here. This is the backstretch. This is over and heading down towards Canada Corner. And this is a very narrow section of racetrack. We talked briefly earlier about how this track is 32 feet wide. It's been that way since 1955 and a true classic road course. And then coming up a blind corner through Bill Mitchell Bend here, there used to be a bridge to access the racetrack over turn 13. They removed that after the concrete abutments were actually in such a way that they were on the corner exit. So there was, you exit a corner, there'd be a 15-foot high concrete wall. And they decided that maybe that's not a great idea to have a corner exit of a fast turn. So they removed that bridge and put in a tunnel over there, and that is still called Bill Mitchell Bend to this day. Do you know the story of Brian Redmond's cat?
Well, I suppose you should tell it.
Okay, so I don't know all the details, but back in a long time ago, there was corner workers that were working here that discovered a cat living on the property. And the cat looked horrible. And all of a sudden the cat discovered that it could get food from the corner workers. And so it would eat lunch with them every day when they were on lunch. So the cat would hang out with the corner workers, and it would kind of go to all the different corners over on the back side of the track and get food. And the cat passed away. Supposedly it's buried over on the exit of turn 10 on the outside. There's actually like a shrine built for it. And the SCCA still does some weird stuff. It's a little bit, it's weird, but I can't get into it. You have to Google the rest of the story. But the corner workers definitely have their stories, and supposedly Brian Redmond's cat still appears from time to time begging for food.
I see. So we talked about at the drivers' meeting yesterday. GridLife is incredibly interested in growing and cultivating a time attack space for electric vehicle time attack. We really want to drive the development in that area. And we do have a class called TrackBattle EV, which is a builder's class for EV cars. Drew Cleaver has really been the first driver wanting to run a conventional class in our TrackBattle series. And at the moment, we're just trying to figure out how to class cars like this. It's really tricky because all the technology is so new, and the motorsport regulations and rules around time attack are driven by internal combustion engines, really. And so we really wanted to partner with Drew and understand, well, what is the limit of potential in these cars? And I think he's doing a great job showing us where cars like the Model 3 should be classed just based on the limit of performance.
Yeah, I think the electric car industry is a very interesting one to watch in time attack because they're only going to get more popular as time goes on. I think you're going to see more and more of them, just because the trend of the future is we're going to see more electric cars on the road and therefore more of them at the racetrack.
Well, no doubt. And I think the Volkswagen program that's been running in the last couple of years, running Goodwood and Pikes Peak Hill Climb, has shown that in a time attack environment, the electric vehicles are almost perfect, right? Because you don't have the same challenges with heat soak, and you want torque instantaneously in pretty much all environments. And so you can theoretically run at the limit of the tires all the time. instead of changing gears like you do with a conventional vehicle. And because you're not talking about endurance racing, you don't have to worry about depleting the batteries. You can have enough capacity to run your event, and that's all you need.
I wonder, and I don't think the rules are written this way. I don't think they're allowed yet, but I wonder what a Tesla would do in GLTC if there was a way to do that properly. I'm not sure that there is because of the way the power is, and it's hard to restrict it the same way you can with a internal combustion car. But at some point, someone's gonna have to try that. I mean, you can just make it way
more. That's probably gonna be something for us to chew on, because I don't know how many people, are looking to build a $50,000 GLTC Tesla, but
cool,
it's something worth thinking about.
We've seen crazier ideas. We've raced minivans in this series. Let's not forget that. I also wonder, how do you cage a Tesla? I mean, that's got to be an interesting discussion in itself.
Well, I mean, Unplugged Performance was running at Pikes Peak with Randy Pobst a couple of weeks ago, so the technology exists.
Yes, I'd like to see it. Again, GLTC is such an interesting mishmash of cars from all shapes and sizes, and I think we're missing, that wild card in terms of builds. I do know that Ryan Christoph's car is a tube frame car, and it's not technically rules legal, so he doesn't run for points. He's just sort of an exhibition racer out there. But that car is very capable and very fast, and so he's sort of a wild card out there because he's not really in the rule set. But I think some kind of electric vehicle would be kind of cool. A hybrid even would be kind of neat to see, although we wouldn't. Hybrids are more made for mileage more than taking advantage of power. But hey, I'd like to see some interesting things happen, and we're still so young in this series. So there's still a lot of time to develop rules like that.
At that point, I think the sky's kind of the limit. You build to your imagination, right? And there's an infinite number of cool GLTC builds that you could do. We talked previously in the last broadcast about Fiesta ST GLTC cars, but that's not the only one. Scott Giles was talking about a visit to Mid-Ohio last week where I think a second-gen MR2 was running a V6 swap from a Toyota Camry. And he said, well, the car was both lightweight and it absolutely ripped around the track. And he thought that might be a ringer.
You know what's interesting? We had this discussion sort of about the minivan power plant that we were talking about earlier, with it making about 280 horsepower. Toyota and Honda both have V6s that make near 300 horsepower. When you think about some of the cars we have in GLTC, we've got Civics in there. You know what I've always wanted to see, just because I'm weird? I want to see someone bring a Toyota Camry V6 out there and make it into a GLTC car. Because it makes 300 horsepower, and it's like 3,400 pounds. So you're already pretty close to that 12.5 pounds per horsepower limit. And it's people sort of think of Camrys, or at least in this world, they think of Camrys as grandma cars. I want to see a grandma car go out there and beat everybody.
Yeah, right.
Well,
I think it's really only been James Houghton who has taken the approach in looking at the weight of his GLTC car to find a different kind of advantage compared to the conventional wisdom, which was lightweight cars are almost always better.
Right.
And that may be true at some tracks, but at places like this, the way the rules are written, it may not be ideal.
Yeah, and unfortunately, our Canadian buddies are stuck over there right now, for better or for worse. But I can tell you that some of the GLTC field is probably a little bit thankful. Not that they're missing their buddy, but that the car isn't here, because that car destroyed everybody at COTA, and I think it probably would have done something similar here.
Yeah. If you're not following that car, it's probably I'm sure it's on Instagram, but I know that on Facebook it's the Bullet TSX, and he wanted a straight line freight train, and that's what they built, and it is very fast.
It is super fast. He's also on street tires a couple times at COTA as well, and that was an interesting experiment, because he definitely pulled away early, and then the tires were almost gone in that car.
Yeah, so for him, it was all about the race start and the first couple of laps. He wanted to find his way to the front and stretch as much as he possibly could, and hope that the gap was big enough so that people couldn't close in by the end of race finish.
Checkered flag out for Group B here in time attack. Ryan Dussix to the top of the board, a 2:28.370. He ran that on his second lap at his Bug-Eye Subi. Orange Crush Racing, second place overall in Street Mod. They are leading this group, a 2:30.314. Nick Kors, 2:32.500. Mark Brilo, Alex Artayet, fourth and fifth. Jeremy Boyson out there in the C8 Corvette, eighth place in this group, 2:34.138. Any other notables? Drew Cleaver ran his best again, that 2:34.858. And Ben Thorne, a 2:35.729. That's a big pickup for him this session.
And he's getting there. Still several seconds behind some of the turbocharged street class cars, which is Adam and I are going to have to take a close look at the rules and the way things have gone this season to figure out, is there anything that can be done to give some NA cars a little bit more jam for the next year? What's interesting about the rule set and something really not taken advantage of at the moment is, higher compression motors aren't really, they're not being leveraged in the street class, which is an open door.
Yeah, and we had some people talking about the center of gravity of cars. So heavier cars generally have a higher center of gravity. I think that's a big discussion when we talk about Carl Hurdle's HMA Racing minivan GLTC build. But there's not really, some cars, there's not really a whole lot you can do based on how the roof is constructed. That might be where a lot of your weight is, and that's not an easy thing to take weight out of without compromising the structural integrity of the car. So what can you do in some of these cars to maybe bring that center of gravity down if the car by itself was designed as a heavy big car?
Yep. And as things sit at the moment, I do think that there is the easier path in street class is to develop a forced induction car because there are plenty of them on the market. They're inexpensive and they're ready to be modified. Only Brandon Renvek and Ben Thorne have put together recently NA cars that are running at the front. Brandon is running it's an E36 M3 with an S54 swap, so kind of a really cool build, really reliable, capable as a lapping day car, but decently fast as well. But at the moment, the cars are tipped toward turbo cars.
Yeah, I think, turbos, the Boosty Boys give you some pretty good power at straights like this. Again, if you're watching on YouTube, make sure to hit the subscribe button to join us for more. The more of you that do that, the more Grid Life Live we can bring you this season. If you're watching on Facebook, make sure you drop a like and share with all your buddies that aren't at the racetrack to enjoy Road America from the skies as we are this afternoon. Thanks again to Magic Matt and Morgan and all the boys behind the scenes that made this happen, rolling out thousands of feet of fiber and running cameras all over the place. We appreciate it. And some mics harder dropping from the sky. Thanks, Morgan. But it's been a really awesome weekend so far, and great to work with this amazing group as we got Group C rolling on track here.
Yeah, absolutely. And another car that I'm actually really fond of that we see here in this, final Group C is Jason Owens has a 10th gen Civic Si coupe. And as track cars, I kind of love those.
Yeah, they're as track cars or as street cars. I think the 10th gen Civic is one of the best all-around cars, period. I mean, it does everything well. You can go get groceries in it. Yeah. You can take it on the racetrack. Sure. You can road trip in it. Absolutely. I mean, it's one of those cars that just kind of checks all the boxes. It's just there's not a whole lot of those cars out there that really do that as well as the 10th gen Civic does.
Now, last year at one of our events, we were talking with Brian Gillespie from Hasport about what he thought maybe the next K motor type motor power plant would be for modern track cars. And it was his impression that the turbo 1.5s that Honda's putting in everything recently is probably going to be the next go-to swap because they're everywhere, they're reliable, they make great power, and they're inexpensive if you need to buy one. So
I guess after 2021, it'll probably be the new K swap that everyone will start doing. But that seems to be like, is it a K? What's the classification for the motor?
It's a 1.5 liter turbo. It's not a K. It's a someone hit up the chat and tell us what.
Yeah, I'm gonna there's people that are smarter than me, and so they'll come out there and let us know what's in there. But it's certainly a good motor. I think that's what people look for. Is you look for that abundant motor that goes in economy cars and minivans that you can pull for $200 out of a junkyard and turn it into a fast motor. And there's cars that have motors like that. And I think Honda made a bunch of cars like that, and people are still using Ks all over the place. I think it's probably one of the more popular motors in the motorsport scene at this time.
As an example, you could take that 1.5 out of a current chassis car and put it into, one of those double wishbone style DC2 Integras, and then you've got a really good setup.
L15Z, does that sound right?
Could be.
I don't know engine codes. We'll have some research done for us. As cars are rolling and some of the stock cars back out on track again, and they are having the most fun. And I've never been here. I've watched NASCAR at Watkins Glen before. Let me tell you, road racing stock cars is a very entertaining. I'm not huge into oval racing, but watching stock cars on road courses is one of my favorite things. I just love how they don't work. They're slow and lumbering and they look wrong, but the racing they put on is amazing. I think generally the harder to drive a car is, the more entertaining the racing also is. When you make the cars easy to drive, the racing kind of gets a little bit drier as time goes on. So cars rolling now as we have time ticking up. And then right after this, let's have a look at our schedule for the day. And we'll get a look at what's coming up next. Because we've got GridLife Touring Cup twice more this afternoon. And we'll wrap it all up at 3:10 with our final GridLife Touring Cup race for the weekend.
Looks like our engine code from my little bit of interneting is the L15B7. Found in an awful lot of things, which means that swaps are going to be cheaper because those motors are going to be available in cars that have been crashed.
Yep, and Tim Miller just made a correction. It is L15B. So thanks, Tim Miller, for getting us on the right track there as we've got cars starting their timed laps here as we roll onto the front straight here. Jason Owens, second car across the line. Jeremy Bailey is out there. Eric Dewey DeWitt is out in his 777 BRZ, another popular platform to kind of tweak on. The 21st Century Miata.
Yeah, and so Eric Dewey and I fight quite a bit about what he should do with that BRZ, and I keep telling him to put a K motor in it. Sometimes Subaru motors are not the most reliable, not the most reliable lapping day cars. In general, you can make a lot of power out of them, and they're decently good time attack cars, but the engines aren't known for lasting forever. And so I keep telling him to put a K motor in, but he fights me on it and says that he wants that low center of gravity up front.
Well, that's the design of those cars. When you think about the reason they put that engine in there, yes, it was a Subaru-Toyota collaboration, but they had their fair share of motors to choose from at Subaru and Toyota. They could have put pretty much anything in there, and it would have fit. That engine bay is pretty large. You could put LSs in it. We've seen that happen before. But I think what they realized was we're trying to make a car that its sole purpose is to handle well. And reliability aside, the best way to make a car handle well, as Tim Miller was saying in the chat earlier, is to get the center of gravity low. And the BRZ and FRS accomplish that with that low-slung FA20. Now, it's got issues. I mean, people will say that. I think Professor Randelli will fight me on that. He says that he swears that his car's the most reliable thing he's ever had. Once you put the right coil packs in it and that sort of thing. But the design of that motor makes that car what it is. If you put anything else in it, I don't think it still retains the same characteristics that it would with that lower motor.
I think the interesting question is how much of a penalty is it to
I don't know.
To raise that CG a little bit.
Right. And maybe gain a lot in the power band, especially because I know those cars the first couple of years had a pretty big torque dip in the mid-range that made them sort of kind of dogs to drive on the street. But once you tuned that out, it was pretty solid. But I agree with you that maybe there's some adjustments you can make in terms of putting a different motor in that car that will raise the CG just a little bit, but also retain a lot of what makes those cars awesome.
So Jason Owens now running a 241, decently quick out of a 1.5 liter turbo Civic.
Yeah, that's a pretty solid time. And Dewey DeWitt comes across the line right behind him. How about 7 thousandths between that 10th gen Civic and the BRZ that Dewey's got? Curious to see if that time will spread out throughout this session or if they'll stay right on top of each other like that. Ron Mullet's out there as well in the 32 car.
I'll be honest, I don't know if you asked a person on the street whether they thought a 10th gen Civic Si and a Subaru BRZ would run almost identical times on the track. I don't think you'd get any people saying yes.
Yeah, I think people would say the 10 gen would be faster.
I don't know.
You don't think?
Well, I don't think of a Civic Si as a sports car in the way that I think about the FRS BRZ as a sports car. They're just a little different.
They are different. And I think if you put them side by side, people will probably pick the FRS BRZ all the time, just the way they look, if they didn't know any better. But again, this is a track that has a lot of straightaway, and I think that that Civic might have a good chance to get up and use those legs to get rolling, maybe a little bit more than the BRZ does. I want to curious to see if these times will spread out though, if they run more than a couple laps.
Well, one of the things that I think we can see within the GridLife Track Battle series is that for a long time, time attack was segmented by drivetrain. And what we've learned over the years looking at our competition is, in fact, I don't believe that there's not really a huge drivetrain advantage that lasts the duration of the year based on track to track. And so I think that there are front-wheel drives cars that can win any class within GridLife Track Battle. And we see that certainly at the unlimited level, but I imagine that there are cars that can run at the front in other classes as well.
Someone was asking, they were on the West Coast and missed the race this morning in GLTC, so we'll run through the results one more time for you. This morning we had, so yesterday, let's start with race 1. We had a green flag in wet conditions. We had a full course caution before the end of the first lap, ran the whole rest of the race under yellow, so nothing really happened there. Emil Tab and Eric Catil battled all race this morning up in the front. They swapped positions 4 or 5 times. A full course caution on the last lap for an incident up at turn 6 brought out the yellow. Returning back to the line, the driver ahead was Emil Tab's number 14. He gets his first victory in GLTC since Blackhawk Farms last year. Eric Catil just misses out on a 14th victory. He'll come home in second. Then Ryan Upham from 12th to 3rd. He finished on the podium. Woody Hyman in a similar-looking M3. Andy Smedgard, Tom O'Gorman, DJ Alessandrini, Kerry James, Justin Kelly, and Pervez Randilia were your top 10 in GLTC race number 2. Notable drivers outside of the top 10, Rob Manicherry and Aaron Lichty from Winning Formula. Lichty and Louis Chatroop both gained over 20 positions en route to their 12th and 13th place running or finishes. So pretty amazing
run from the back of the pack.
Absolutely. So that is your rundown for that GLTC race. Our next one coming up right after this, I believe. So we've got our next race about ready to gear up. I already see some cars, or at least one car, on the grid and preparing to go as we approach the end of our Time Attack Group C session here. At the top of the board, the 324 car, a 237.983 is the fastest that we've seen. Yo Cutla in second in street. Rear-wheel drive car, 239.035 is his time. Then Jeremy Bailey in street mod, 239.392.
Yo Cutla. It sounds like a really tough name, doesn't it?
Yeah. I like that. Oh, so we do have a better time for Dewey DeWitt, and he separated himself from Jason Owens. Owens' best time, a 241.793. Dewey DeWitt now a 240.904, so he's got about a second on Jason Owens now in that Civic.
Fantastic time by Dewey. Now, Dewey has been driving Subaru all-wheel drive cars for probably about as long as he's been alive, and this is his first real foray into a rear-wheel drive platform, and he loves it.
Yeah, I think it's fun to take a car like that and ring it out. We talk about, going back to that BRZ FRS platform, we talk about cars that are fun on the street. Show me a Miata, show me an FRS BRZ, because if you want rear-wheel drive fun, where it's not 0 to felony in 3 seconds, those are good cars to choose. You know, you can ring them out. You can drive full throttle for 15 seconds and still not be speeding. That's the fun thing.
Sometimes that's the life, man. Like I have an 8th gen Civic Si that I actually love driving. It's quick. It's not fast like I had a 600 horsepower Evo fast, but it's fun to drive, and it's small and light enough to be zippy around. And on the street, that's fun to have.
Absolutely. I think that's people enjoy having a drive like that, where you don't have to worry about getting on the throttle for more than 2 seconds and driving at 3 times the speed limit. Definitely don't do that. Come to a racetrack, come to a GridLife event, and do the beginner class. I did that this weekend with Ed Palazzo was my instructor. And sat down with him, and we discussed some things before we went out on track. I was in Ben Harisco's old GLTC Miata and went for a couple laps in a lead follow. Then we got out on my own and had an absolute blast. And if you're considering, I've got this Civic, I've got this FRS or BRZ or a Mustang or a Camaro, and I have no track experience, that's okay. Come to GridLife, get HPDE Beginner, and do the sequence, and you'll leave this racetrack feeling like you really knew what you were doing. And having a big smile on your face. So here's that Civic Si hatch coming up the hill, and I'm curious what this car is going to run. And across the line, he'll get here eventually. Long straight, 270 car, and let's see,
250.967.
I was looking forward on the timing screen. There's a lot of cars. 250.967. Best time for Max Rooney at 246.471. That's the fastest he's run this session in the 12th spot. There's a lot of cars out here. 25 in this session, and 21 have taken times. All right. So with that, I think we're about ready to get the checkers here for this session. And we've got more GLTC cars showing up on grid. And I'm so excited for our second race. I hope we can get a full race in without a yellow flag, and we can race all the way back to the checkers. Yep.
But it's been fantastic racing so far at basically every spot in the grid. Good battle up front, excellent battle in the midfield, and some fun stuff happening at the back too.
But again, if you're watching on YouTube, make sure to subscribe. We've got 2 more races today for GLTC. Then we've got GridLife Midwest coming up in October. So if you're not subscribed, you're going to miss it. So make sure you hit the button. And if you're on Facebook, share with all your buddies. Because if you watch any other sports car racing in this country, I guarantee you're going to enjoy GLTC. So if your buddies are into racing, it's a good time to share and show them what you're watching and show them why this is such a cool series. Going back to the Race 2 results, if you want to have a look at some of the cars that were up there, an NA Miata with a K-swap won the race. A K-swapped Civic SI from 1992 finished in second. Then Ryan Upham, Woody Hyman in M3 BMWs. Andy Smedgard, Tom O'Gorman in S2000s. DJ Alessandrini in a 2006 Civic SI. There's an FRS, 2 FRSs inside the top 10. There's a couple E46s out there as well. It's just a great example of cars from all different speeds, all competing together with the balance and weight and power that we do here in GLTC to make everything even. So it's pretty cool to see how equal we can really get race cars. And appreciate everybody watching here this afternoon as we prepare for our 3rd of 4 races this weekend.
So a few more drivers coming up the hill. A couple of those NASCARs thundering by.
Oh, we have a Sunday Cup car up there this weekend. It's Peter Lindbergh in the 969. He's running Sunday Cup. I didn't know we had anybody running that class this weekend.
Good for him.
That's a 319.727. I bet you he's got a biggest smile on his face of anybody out there right now.
I don't know how that compares to previous Sunday Cup best times. Let me do a little digging.
It makes me wonder when I was running out there in HPDE. I wasn't timing anything. I bet you I was going way slower than that. Probably doing a 4-minute lap around Road America. But the smile is all that mattered to me.
Checking. Spec Fit best time, Alexander Mishra, 3:08.176. So some time left to gain by Pete Lindbergh there as well.
All right. So with the checkered falling on this session, that'll be the last couple cars across the line. We'll get prepared for GridLife Touring Cup here in just a few minutes. And again, the skies continue to stay gray here. I need blue sky to make myself happy. And there's sun. I can see it. There's shadows on the track. There's sun behind us here in the media center. I want to see the sun and know that it still exists after this weekend.
Hello, darkness, mild friend.
All right, we'll be back in a few minutes for GridLife Touring Cup. Stick with us. We'll be right back.
It's going to be a long winter. Stable Fuel Stabilizer is specifically formulated to make sure your engines will be ready when it's finally over. Ready, willing, stable.
The Falcon Azenis RT660 is the enthusiast choice for ultra-high performance. Engineered for predictable handling and stability, the RT660 provides maximum traction both on and off the track. Your competitive edge has arrived with the Falcon Azenis RT660.
During a period of inactivity, they roost in trees or caves. Some species roost alone, while others form colonies up to 1 million individuals.
Dude, that's sweet. Dude, that's sweet. Dude, that's sweet.
It is a beautiful September day here at GridLife Elkhart Classic. Welcome back to Road America, the National Park of Speed. My name is Kyle Heyer, joined by Abram Schmucker for our third race of 4 this weekend in GridLife Touring Cup. The cars are just about ready to roll off onto the pit lane and get set for a pace lap. This morning at about 9:40, we saw these cars roll off and run race 2 of the weekend, Abe. And we still haven't gotten to race green to checkered all the way. We're getting a little bit closer as time goes on here. So we had basically a full race under caution yesterday, and this morning we had almost the entire race under green. The last half of the lap was under caution. Let's hope we go green from start to finish this time.
Absolutely. I think one of the consequences of running at a really big track like this is that there's plenty of opportunity for things to go wrong, and in a short race, any incident can affect the overall finish.
So cars rolling off of the pit lane now. The entire field had a really clean start last time. We didn't really have any trouble to the last couple laps of the race, which is always amazing. We did go 3 wide on the green flag again. And remember that when we get the green flag here in GridLife Touring Cup, we do rolling starts. When the pace car pulls off, the driver must wait for the green flag to fly. When it does, you are good to go. The drivers in the back of the field are allowed to go at the green flag. They do not have to stay in line. They do not have to wait. As soon as that green flag drops, we are racing, and you don't have to wait in line until you get to the start-finish line. So what that means is, yeah, if you want to go 4 wide, go for it. You just have to make sure that you don't do anything silly when you do that. So we did see some 3 wide yesterday. We saw it today, and we'll see if we can stay a nice 2 neat lines all the way down to turn 1 just to keep everybody in one piece coming out the other side. Well, 4 miles here at Road America, 14 corners, lots of elevation change. Very narrow, 32 feet wide, the way it was back in 1955 when the track was originally paved. There's a lot about this track that I absolutely adore, including the backside of the track from the kink on forward. The race lap record here, in case you're wondering, set by Dario Franchitti back in 2000. How about a 1:39.866? That's almost a full minute faster than we're going to go here in GLTC, but it's a fast place.
Man, that's a fast lap. Holy cow.
It really is.
4 miles and that quick?
Yeah, unbelievable. Back in 1955, this track was built. They had been racing here in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin for a few years before that. The track was built after the U.S. ruled against allowing racing on public streets following an accident at Watkins Glen in 1952. This track was built in 55. It's been pretty much the same ever since. It's gotten some safety additions, but the track still goes the same place it always has, which is one of the few racetracks left in the country that retains its original configuration. We'll roll through the starting lineup here for race number 3, and here it is. On the front row, Emil Tab and the number 14, Erica Till, and the number 82 rolls off in second.
Following a great finish overall for Ryan Up, and he'll start in third spot, followed by 802 Woody Hyman in fourth position.
Andy Smedgard and Tom O'Gorman, 2 yellow S2000s, sharing the third row.
Number 61, DJ Alessandrini is starting in 7th position, followed by car number 44, Kerry James.
Yeah, he's in a BMW. He's new to the series and has got a top 10 already. Justin Kelly will roll off in 9th alongside Pervez Randilia. They'll both be in FRS platforms. Justin Kelly with an S2000 power plant. Pervez Randilia retains the F820.
Still working his way up toward the front, car 325, Robert Manicherry is followed by car number 190, Aaron Lichty. Expect Aaron to move forward hard in race number 3.
Yeah, Lichty should probably be a top 5 car at worst in this race. Louis Chatroop was also up 23 spots in race number 2. He'll roll off 13th right alongside Greg Kuhn in the 222.
Car number 69, Vitus Aronauskis, followed by car number 213, Scott Robertson in 15th and 16th spot.
Steve Pruden starts 17th right alongside the 99 of Jeremy Boysen. Just jumped out of his time attack car right back into the RSX for GLTC.
Busy Life. Car number 567, Dan Capaldo, is followed by car number 3, Eric Meadows in 19th and 20th.
Yeah, then of course we got Tiffany Kelly, Bill Griffin, Jake Jorenstad, Quincy Burke, Andrew Work, Savannah Little, Brian DeFries, Michael Vladiff is back there, and Charlie Ensland in the Claptrap K-Swap fit. He's back there in 29th. And Scott Bowling, that car will likely be out for the rest of the weekend with sustaining some crash damage in race number 2 at the exit at turn 6, as will the 200 of Jonathan Yu.
You know what? Maybe not.
Maybe not.
We haven't left the broadcast.
No, we don't know.
A bunch of hours, so we don't actually know.
He could be out there. I hope for his sake that he is out there. We'll find out here in a little bit. Now heading down through the kink into the beautiful back straightaway here into Canada Corner. And Abe, Canada is a tricky one to see around here, but when you do see it, it's a gorgeous corner. It's also a great passing opportunity. But I want to watch this battle between the 14 of Emil Tab and the 82 of Erica Till again, because they swap positions 5 or 6 times. They had a lead that allowed them to do that. They will not have that this time, and Ryan Upham was faster than both of them when they were battling.
Yeah, one of the consequences of defending those positions and trying to make those passes is that you're losing time to the third spot for sure. So if they keep doing that, expect Ryan Upham to be right behind them, if not making those passes.
The Chevy Camaro pace car is going to make their corner number 14 and dive for the pit lane. Up in front, Eric Catil is going to start right alongside Emil Tab. Emil Tab is elected for driver's left, which is an interesting choice. He was the pole sitter and could have chosen driver's right, but I think there might be some planning going on between these front two to get free and clear of the drivers behind them.
Yeah, we'll see. An interesting kind of probably trying to take that long line around turn 1. Maybe the car just exits a little bit better there.
I think he's doing it for a specific reason. I don't think it's an accident. As we come up the hill towards the green flag, 40 cars deep, 2 wide, all the way back 20 rows. Green flag flies and GRIDLIFE Touring Cup is racing again for the National Park of Speed. Eric Catil gets a pretty good jump. Double wide, 10 rows deep at the front as they head down towards turn number 1, thundering down. The rest of the field makes it clean and through the front straightaway. Now down into the first corner. Look at this. Look at Andy Smedgard on driver's left. He tried to squeeze up the outside of Emil Tab. He could not get there. They're 3 wide into turn 1 behind them. And look at Tom O'Gorman getting squeezed on the bottom of the racetrack as DJ Alessandrini runs all the way onto the curbs on track out.
So Smedgard now up into 4th position, battling Upham for 3rd on his way outside line into turn 3.
Yeah, so Eric Catil is the one that's going to pop out in front as they head down the back straightaway. The field's going to fan out now. Look at Smedgaard powering up drivers left. He's side by side now with Upham. Alessandrini's coming through the field as well. He had a wild start in race number 1 yesterday, gained 11 spots, then gained a few more in the race. This morning, he's now charging towards the front and trying to get that Civic. He thinks he can win on slicks, and he's on slicks in the dry today. He'll be good.
Yeah, Smedgaard in a favorable position on his way up to turn 5. We'll see if it's enough to be able to make that pass on Upham.
And Eric Catil and Emil Tab again swapping positions all day long this morning. I'm really curious to see if there's a car off that. It looks to be is that
Justin Kelly?
It's either Justin or Tiffany. That might be Tiffany Kelly. I want to say it looks like an S2000 instead. So she's gone a little wide of the exit of 5 and has regained control and has rejoined the racing surface as we head through the accident zone from the earlier race today. That's corner number 6.
Cars making their way through turn 8 and into the carousel here at the very top of your screen.
Yeah, and the carousel, a very long, flat corner. The pavement changes quite a bit from the inside to the outside. The inside's very polished and pretty slick. The outside is pretty grippy. You'll see drivers kind of rim ride that until they spot the exit curb. They'll line it up, they'll straight line it out, and have it run all the way down to the kink. And the race leader into the kink is going to be still Eric Catil in the 82 Civic SI. Look at the lead he's got now.
Big gap off Emil Tab here on his way up to Canada Corner.
About a 20-car length lead. Emil Tab has got Smedgaard and Upham behind him, and then behind them, I think that is Kerry James's number 44 as they roll run down to Canada Corner. Chat Troop's up there inside the top 10 as well, I think. And I'm curious to see where Aaron Lichty will be after this first lap. They'll come back into view up in turn 14 here momentarily. But Catil has won 13 races in his GLTC career. Aaron Lichty has won over 20. So Catil's trying to close in that gap as they come through the final corner. Look at Smedgaard all the way out to the curbs. And there's that 44, Kerry James, new to GLTC and putting on a show this weekend.
So Smedgaard struggled in qualifying because he didn't have a proper set of rain tires and has really just been battling his way back, on his back foot all weekend, trying to make up positions lost during that qualifying.
And there they go, side by side down the front straight. That's Andy Smedgaard on driver's left. He's blowing right by the 14 of Emil Tab. Chatroop is up to 10th this lap. Smedgaard up 3 spots to put himself into 3rd, battling for 2nd. Upham's down 1. And the rest of the field thunders on through down towards turn number 1. No major dramas. Aaron Lichty's up inside the top 10. He's in 7th place now as the field comes on through turns number 1 and 2.
But as Smedgaard and Tab battle here, it's Catil that's running away, running more than a second and a half faster than the next car number 2. And that may be enough to pay dividends this race.
Well, let's find out. I know Andy Smedgaard is no slouch. He's going to be very fast. Looks like Upham's made his way by 3rd. There's Aaron Lichty popping out drivers left on Woody Hyman. They're going to drag race down the backstretch. That's M3 versus K Miata down the backstretch. How about that matchup? Into 5 to look at Smedgaard. He's closing big time on the brakes here, and he's halved that gap at about a half a lap.
Absolutely. So we're only 3.5 minutes in. If Andy's going to make this pass, he's got plenty of time.
He's got so much time. He's got 12 minutes left in this race to make it happen. A big slew of cars battling for about 5th to 6th spot. Tom O'Gorman's back to 11th. I'm not sure he's going to be thrilled with that running position just yet, so he'll have to work his way back forward. He got better throughout race 2 and actually moved his way back forward after initially losing some spots, so I'm not sure he's done quite yet.
But looking at the race pace here, 2 minutes, 37 seconds, I would not be surprised to see Catil get the let out and start pulling even more pace out of this car in order to be able to stretch the gap on Smedgaard.
And he's going to gather that confidence now, and Catil was leading by 1.5 seconds at the start-finish line. I don't think it was nearly that when they got to turn number 5 now through the trees in the forest here at Elkhart Lake. It's not a path, not a trail, but a road to race, and Catil has been dominating this race so far in the first couple laps, but can he keep Emil Tab behind him for the entire race? Looks like he's going to do that. Looks like Smedgaard lost a little bit of ground on this stretch this time, though, but he's closing on the brakes again.
Yeah, excellent on the brakes, Smedgaard, for sure.
And through Canada Corner, and a good battle behind Woody Hyman. I think Justin Kelly, Pervez Randelia are there as well. It's a train of 3 or 4 red cars. And there's Catil. That's not a 1.5 second gap anymore, let me tell you. Now, Ryan Upham has been so fast this weekend. If Smedgaard gets to Catil, there's going to be a 3-horse battle, and it might turn into 4 or 5 once they battle again. There's the other M3, Woody Hyman. He's 6th right now, and it looks like Aaron Lichty's gotten by him. And let's keep an eye on Lichty as he continues to drive forward.
On his way up, it looks like Catil's got maybe 6 or 7 car lengths on Smedgaard on his way past start-finish this time around.
Yeah, it was 6, maybe make it 0.7 seconds that time through. Drag race down the front stretch. That was Justin Kelly going by one of our, or that was Woody Hyman in the 802. So Kelly got a pretty good run. You'll see them pop into view here shortly as they come down into turn 1.
No surprise seeing Aaron Lichty make up 4 positions, now in 6th place, running fast lap after fast lap. Look for him to be running near the top very soon.
Ryan Kristoff, I just saw passing. DJ Alessandrini not showing up on timing and scoring. I don't know. I haven't seen him. He's sort of disappeared. I don't know if he's he's back in pit lane here. So I'm not exactly sure what's going on with DJ. He's out of the car. And it looks like he's done for this race, unfortunately. So I'm not sure what's going on there with DJ, but he just said yesterday, he goes, this car has been so reliable, I'm due for something to happen. And unfortunately, it looks like something did happen. There's Chatroop. That is by, oh, he's going to run wide at the exit of 5. And it looks like Kelly's going to cross over and have a look up the inside now. That would be for, looks like 7th or 8th spot.
So Smedgaard running on that last lap a 2:32.3. If you compare that to Cattell's 2:33.1, Andy should be closing the gap on Cattell continually here at the end of this race.
And it was only 0.7 of a second when they came by the line, and Smedgaard was, wow, that was 0.8 of a second faster than Cattell the last lap around. So this yellow S2000 is going to hunt Cattell down. Now, defensively driving, we sort of discourage it in GLTC, not because it's illegal, just because it's sort of the only thing it's doing is keeping 2 drivers from having a good race. So I don't think Cattell's going to defend a whole lot. He'll let Smedgaard race him. If he's faster, he'll beat him. We'll see how it plays out naturally.
But just like I said from the previous lap, an improvement of about 4.5 seconds on this last lap compared to the previous. Lap number 1, of course, about 2:37 time points, whereas lap number 2 here, recording 2:32s, 2:33s.
And waiting for the cars to pop up over turns 13 and 14. There is Eric Cattell and Smedgaard. Oh, we've lost Smedgaard here. He's back. Uh-oh, where did the 212 go?
He is gone.
He must have made a mistake and looped the car around, but it's going to be Ryan Upham slotting himself into 2nd place. And do we have a car off track somewhere? I'm trying to take a glance and see if he's found himself in a gravel trap somewhere. There's Woody Hyman. He is right behind. That looks to be either Justin, oh, that's Pervez Randilia in the FRS. He's going to push him down the front straight. Aaron Lichty, he's found himself into 3rd. He's only 1.3 seconds back. Abe, is that enough time, half the race, to chase down 1.3 seconds?
I don't see it happening. I expect Cattell to find his way onto the top spot this race.
Tom O'Gorman going to hit pit lane, and Tomo going to also pull in right next to DJ Alessandrini. Not exactly sure what's going on with this. Not a great race for the Speedbox cars, with the exception of Eric Cattell, who continues to lead. So 2 of the 3 of those teammates are out of the race. It looks like Tomo might have a tire rub potentially. Adam Jabay was kicking at the rear of that tire, or the rear bumper. So maybe some contact with Tom O'Gorman.
So track's still green here. Maybe a local yellow for Smedgaard. I don't know if he's made his way back around yet.
No, I haven't seen that car yet. So wherever he has found himself, it isn't off in a bad place enough to throw a full course yellow. So we'll stay green and racing for now, as Eric Cattell is going to have to get really, really racy if he's going to hold off Upham. I'm not even sure he'd be worried about Upham. I'd be worried about Lichty, who just ran 0.4 faster than Eric Cattell's run all weekend. So that's the battle we're going to be watching here shortly.
Yeah, no doubt. It may be too little, too late. Very fast, but the gap is pretty sizable here.
And we might get an early checkered just based on if Smedgaard is in a spot where they can't recover him. So we will wait and see the results of that. And Cattell, again, he's won 13 races. The most recent of them was last night. He won 3 of the 4 at Mid-Ohio. The 4th there was won by DJ Alessandrini, who sits on pit lane. Jake Price is also down on pit lane. There is also another Felipe Gonzalez in the Myriad Motorsports Integra. He's also on pit lane now, and they are pushing DJ Alessandrini's car, which is not a good sign. That could be a transmission issue or an engine issue, which would be a very expensive fix, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. So looking at the drone footage, still looking for Andy Smedgaard, not showing up here. I'm not sure where this car is parked.
Yeah, I don't know where he's found himself, but it must be far enough on track that it doesn't seem like too big of a concern for the safety crews. Eric Cattell is driving away here, guys, and he's got, I don't know, 2 laps maybe? As Aaron Lichty has a look at the outside of Upham. He's going to squeeze around the outside of the big M3 and have a run at Cattell. We're not going to get the white flag this time, so he's got at least 2 laps, but that's a big gap to make up here, Abe.
Lichty is very fast, though. He's got probably 15 or 20 car lengths. It's a lot. That's a sizable gap.
Yeah, and the gap right now is 3.6 seconds, but he just ran a couple laps ago a lap time that would be good enough. Even if he runs his best lap the next 3 laps, it's not going to happen. I just think Catil needs to make a mistake, and he doesn't make a whole lot of those.
No, especially when out front. He's not needing to do a whole lot to battle the driver behind him. Here, it's just his race to lose.
And he continues, and this is all about where he started and how much he took advantage of the race start in the rain on Friday. That put him up in the front for race 2. It kept him up front for race 3. Lichty pulls away from Upham, and there is that 44 of Kerry James, a new driver to the series that has finished top 10 in a couple races so far, and here he is inside the top 5 battling for position.
I think it's really exciting to see the variety of builds in this class. I mean, seeing the K Miatas and the EG hatch and the FRS, all of these cars, the BMWs, the variety makes things really interesting.
There's a 350 out there too, which I don't think that must be Vitus Aronowskis. I haven't really gotten a chance to talk to him this weekend, but I think that's who that is. So that or Greg Kuhn in the 222 as they work their way now through 7 and 8 and down into the carousel and kink section of this racetrack. Next time by, I would expect a white flag. So Aaron Lichty better get up on that wheel. He's up 8 spots, and we knew he'd be a top 5 car. I didn't expect him to get to second, but he's there.
So usually on race number 4, we do a race inversion of a random number of the top cars. So I expect him to be right on Eric Catil's wheels by the end of race 4, making passes for top spot.
For sure. Now the run into the kink. There's the carousel, that long 180-degree right-hand sweep. No banking in this corner. It's flat as a pancake, and you're begging the front tires for grip through here and just coaxing the car to the right, and then sweeping out, grabbing the curb on the exit, and then running down to the kink and trying to make as much speed as he can to carry it all the way down to Canada Corner. And checking back in, I think they've gotten DJ's car off of the pit lane, and he's back in the paddock area. And unfortunately, that car will probably be done for the weekend, I would imagine.
Yeah, it's always difficult to see drivers, having really good race weekends and suffer a mechanical that just kind of keeps them out.
So let's not count out anybody yet. There's Kerry James. He wants a podium. He's going to drag race Ryan Upham down the front straightaway here. White flag waving for Eric Catil this time. The 82 Civic out up front. It was 3.6 last lap. What's it going to be this time? 2.3. That was a huge gain for Aaron Lichty. Fastest lap of the weekend, 2:31.745. I'm not counting him out yet, Abe. I know too much to say that it's not possible. At Audubon Country Club, I didn't think it was, and he ran people down. And I'm going to tell you, it's a long way to go, but with a mistake, it's possible.
I think the moment is going to be at Canada Corner, right? If you don't catch him there, it's going to be too difficult to make that pass at 14. I just don't know if it's enough.
It's going to be a Herculean effort to get there, but I don't think it's impossible. Now the run down to turn number 3. They're going to carry as much speed as possible. There's the gap there under the bridge, still about 2 seconds. As the rest of the field comes on through, some decent battles throughout the rest of it down the front straight, but all the battles, all the eyes are at the front right now between Catil and Lichty. These two have so much respect for each other. They've raced each other so many times. They've been first and second to each other probably more times than they've raced elsewhere. But up the hill towards 6, and that gap's still about 15 car lengths here.
Might just be too much.
For third place, Upham defensive on the left, and around the outside, Kerry James out in the gray stuff, can't keep the grip, and Upham will hang on to podium for now. That's the other battle we got to watch, is for that third position. Kerry James wants it, Upham has it.
Really, really close racing between these two. Looks like only about 2 or 3 car lengths separating the two.
Emil Tab has fallen to 5th place in all this chaos, and behind him, it's a battle between Justin Kelly, Louis Chatroop, Pervez Randelia, Rob Manicherry, and Woody Hyman, all from 6th on back. And there is that battle for third place that we're watching. Upham struggling to get the car rotated here, and it looks like the 44 is going to gain a little bit of ground. But look at Upham pull on corner exit. That gap just extending slightly. Now it's 6 car lengths, now 7 as they run down to the kink.
Clean exit through the kink, looks like. Very exciting to see. Clean on this last lap, and on their way up to Canada Corner.
And now the final hard braking zone on this racetrack, and I don't think it's going to be enough for Aaron Lichty. He gave it everything he had, ran a full second quicker than everybody else in the field, and now it's time to change out the white for a checkers. We'll see who gets back here first as they crest over 13.
Oh, it's close.
It's closer. It's pretty close, but it's not going to be enough, I don't think.
Yeah, I would not expect Lichty to have enough power to be able to pull all his way up the hill on the way to start-finish. But expect the gap to be less than 1 second by the time they make it to the finish line.
Checkered flag waving for Eric Catil, win number 14 in his GridLife Touring Cup career. Eric Catil wins at Road America. Aaron Lichty, half a second back, half a second short. For third place, drag race to the line. Third place, Upham. Fourth place, Kerry James.
Lichty with the fastest lap of the race and personal best on that last lap, 2:31.534.
That's an incredible lap time. 1.1 seconds faster than everybody else on the racetrack. Emil Tab 5th, Chat Troop 6th, Justin Kelly, Professor Randilia, Rob Manicheri all the way back to 9th, and Woody Hyman will be 10th. Vitus Aronauskis will come 11th, Greg Kuhn in 12th. Then Jeremy Boyson, and I think Tiffany Kelly will be the next one up. There's a pretty good scrap coming to the checkers here. And it will be, you can hear that car from a long way away. Tiffany Kelly's car. There she is. Across the line. She'll pick up 14th spot.
Big improvement for her, up 8 places. Struggling mechanically with the transmission yesterday. Glad to see things are back together and running well.
And the rest of the field coming on through. But checkered flag waving here for GLTC race number 3. And what a race we saw. Eric Catil, though, the crucial moment was that second lap when he pulled that gap on Emil Tab when he was fighting with Upham. That's what gave him enough room to just go out there and keep Aaron Lichty behind him. Had he waited a half a lap more to drive away, Aaron Lichty would have caught him and passed him.
Yep. These races are short enough where every lap absolutely matters.
It absolutely does. And now for race 4, Aaron Lichty. It's got to be the favorite. I mean, he swept this round last year, and he spent 3 races getting to the front, and now he'll be up inside the top 5 here for the start of race number 4. Aaron Lichty is my pick to win that final race.
Absolutely. Always kind of a runner to the front. He made up 8 positions on that race, making clean passes. Great racing by Aaron Lichty.
We're going to step away until about 1:20, and we're going to take care of a lunch break here. I got to go get something to eat. We'll be back at 1:20 for Time Attack. We want to thank our sponsors for being with us here this weekend. We'll start off with Falken Tires, the RT660 tire, peak performance inspired by enthusiasts, and by FCP Euro. If we wouldn't put it on our cars, we won't sell it to you. Haltech, unlock the power. GridLife Live is also brought to you by Staybill. Feel the difference. And by Mike's Harder. Dude, that's sweet. And GridLife Live is sponsored by ST Suspension. Thanks so much to our partners for being with us. We'll be back in just over an hour for Time Attack and the final GLTC race of the day. We'll see you later.